Chapter 640. Damn, there's no internet today. I had no choice but to upload it in an internet cafe. This was a person who shouldn't have existed, but he had suddenly entered another world. The river of fate still enveloped him, but because he didn't belong to fate in the end, even though he was in the river of fate, he wasn't affected by fate. His future was filled with endless possibilities. Perhaps every thought he had and every decision he made would cause his destiny to change in a different direction. Destiny was changeable, and no one could figure out or control it. There was probably no existence in this world that could predict de Chertien's future and what he would achieve in the end. Sacre's thoughts turned quickly, and his eyes revealed an expression as if he had gained something. If there was really something that even the river of fate couldn't interfere with and predict his future, then the only possibility was his origin. That's great. Even the river of destiny can't control my destiny. In this world, only I am supreme and my will move. This is the true essence of the Emperor's Tao. De Chertien took a deep breath, and his eyes were full of confidence. Lunatic D, although you can't be controlled by destiny, de Chertien has been blessed by destiny. He also inherited a bit of the Master of Destiny's inheritance, and he also has the scales of destiny that the Master of Destiny refined when he was still an unparalleled expert. As for the treasure mirror of Cosmos, it should be a replica of the heavenly book of fate. In short, de Chertien, who is blessed by destiny, is almost invincible among those of the same level. Dark said with unusual caution. He was very wary. If he interferes, the remaining treasures in the myriad tribulations cave abode, and even the connate spiritual embryo, might be taken by him. You have to be careful. Don't let this kid take advantage of you. De Chertien's tiger-like eyes flashed, and he said coldly, "So what if he's the child of destiny? If he dares to compete with I for the connate spiritual embryo, even if he's the child of destiny, I'll still dare to kill him. I'd like to see if he, who is blessed by destiny, can withstand my heavenly punishment divine I and 7 sins divine melody. If he really stands in my way, I'll let him have a taste of the power of the supreme divine melody." The corner of his mouth pulled into a cold arc. The 7 sins divine melody was a supreme trump card that he had always kept in his hand but had never used. The boundless power of desire clashed with the power of destiny. Who was stronger? Looks like I have to increase my strength as soon as possible. A great demon with a 7th revolution Yaodan is still too weak. De Chertien recalled the cultivators of various clans he had just seen. Among the young generation, those who could be called peerless geniuses had all raised their cultivation to the emperor level. An expert comparable to a demon saint. With their talents, the various supreme treasures they carried with them, and their powerful cultivation techniques, they would most likely be able to challenge those of a higher realm and surpass those of the same realm. If it wasn't for the myriad demon city, he probably wouldn't even have the qualifications to sit on equal footing with them. Great Fae were still much weaker than Fae sages. I've just broken through to the 7th transformation, so it's not good for me to continue advancing. Otherwise, my foundation will be damaged. A skyscraper was built from the ground, and the foundation was the most important. However, the jade lotus wine was most suitable for solidifying one's foundation. It's enough for me to stabilize my cultivation in the shortest time possible. Then, I'll use the jade blood amber wine and the heavenly origin pill to boost my cultivation. De Chertien's mind spun rapidly. With a wave of his hand, a light flashed in front of him. Who was still supervising the construction of the Hall of Life and Death, was casually brought before him. Who was originally a little shocked, immediately straightened his appearance after seeing the scene in front of him. He said respectfully, "May I know what instructions your Majesty has for summoning me?" With his intelligence, he naturally knew that if there wasn't anything important, it would be impossible for him to be brought here directly from outside. Therefore, the matter must be extremely important. Not only was he not angry, but he was even more delighted. This showed that His Majesty valued him greatly. Immediately passed down I's edict. Azure Dragon Legion, Commander Chi Hua, Vice Commanders Long Yu and Shui Ling Er. Vermilion Bird Legion, Commander Ing Kong, Vice Commanders Jin Xian and Peacock. White Tiger Legion, Commander Black Ape King Yuan Zhan, Vice Commanders Shi Shitian and Kuei Kao. Xuanwu Legion, Commander Xiong Ba, Vice Commander is temporarily vacant. Supervisor Beast Guard, Supervisor Bai Yu. Vice Supervisor Rat King Rat 100 Herb Garden, 10,000 Demon Nursery, 100 Herb Fairy by Susu. Peach Garden, Red Crowned Crane King Crane Fairy He Hong Yu. Jade Lake, Azure Luan Swordsman Commander Qing Xia. Wine Brewing Division, Wine Chancellor Yuan Tian. Immediately arrange everything at hand and enter the 5th layer of the Linglong Treasure Pagoda to cultivate. Everyone can go to the Imperial Treasury to withdraw 1,000,000 Heavenly Origin pills. All of them have been peacefully cultivated by me. Within 400 years, if you want spiritual items, I will give it. If you want cultivation methods, I will give it. If, after 400 years, no one has broken through to the great ancient demon realm, I will not let you off easily. Di Shirtian's face was dignified without being angry, and he emitted a terrifying aura. This caused Hu to shiver inwardly. I will go and announce the decree now. Hearing this, Hu was also shocked. While he was happy about this order, he could not help but be extremely grateful. He knew what this decree meant. Go! With a wave of his hand, he sent Hu away. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to the heavens. It was not enough for him to be strong. Those who followed him would all receive benefit. With Di Shirtian's current wealth, it was already enough for him to start nurturing these direct subordinates of his. For example, Chi Hua, Bai Yu and the others, all of them had followed him since they were still insignificant. In terms of loyalty, there was almost no flaw. In the future, when the 100 races returned, it would definitely enter the trend of a great era. With Chi Hua and the others' cultivation, they would not be able to deal with the battles at that time. To improve themselves, he had to completely improve their cultivation. Beast Core's 1 to 3 transformations were only small demons. They could not even be considered cannon fodder. Beast Core's 4 to 6 transformations were only demon kings. At this time, they were only qualified to be cannon fodder. How can those who follow me, Di Shirtian, be so weak? Great demons, even if I have to throw in a huge amount of wealth, I will raise their cultivation. I want the world to know that as long as they follow I sincerely, as long as I eat, they will not be left out. Watching Hu leave, Di Shirtian said in a low voice. You are right. Although your subordinates are loyal, their cultivation is too weak. Anyway, you have 9 trillion heaven yuan pills. If you throw it in, it will be enough to raise all of your subordinates to the great demon realm. 1,000,000 heaven yuan pills is more than enough. Ming also agreed with his approach. If one person was strong, it would not be considered strong. If everyone was strong, then it would be considered as the entire demon race becoming strong and rising. I have estimated that there is about a year before the land of chaos descends here. During this time, you will be able to cultivate in the pagoda for more than 200 years. That will be enough for you to stabilize your foundation and raise your cultivation base. After a moment of silence, Di Shirtian suddenly asked, Ming, can the restrictions in the myriad tribulations cavern withstand the heavenly punishment? You're thinking of... Underworld's pupils suddenly constricted, and a look of bewilderment flashed through his eyes. That's right. Sakra nodded in a low voice, and his voice carried a wisp of unswerving determination. I can't delay any longer. I must do everything possible to improve my cultivation and strength within these mere 7 or 8 years. Otherwise, even if I have the myriad demon city, I'll still be drowned by the tide of the times. Whenever the great calamity descends, it will be the best time to rise. There is a 30% chance. After a moment of silence, Ming said softly, "That's enough." Dishur Tian immediately made a decision without hesitation. Even 10% was worth a shot, let alone 30%. Under Dishur Tian's orders, almost all of the important generals and high-ranking officials of Myriad Demon City entered the Linglong Treasure Pagoda to receive large quantities of heavenly origin pills and spirit wine. They entered the fifth layer of heaven and began to cultivate in seclusion in a world that could reverse time by 200 times. Each and every one of them was holding their breaths in their hearts, seizing every minute to increase their cultivation with all their might. Everyone knew that this was a rare opportunity. If they didn't work hard, even the heavens might not be able to bear it and strike them to death with a bolt of divine lightning. In the city, everything was guarded by the two elders, Tian Can, Huang Quan, who 100,000 blood kill guards and 18 blood kill generals. The entire city was built like an iron barrel. The experts of the all heavens and the elites of the 100 tribes entered the city with great discretion. However, housing was a big problem. Who immediately smelled a business opportunity. He immediately led the demons to start building inns and restaurants. Under the collective effort of the group, inns rose from the ground one after another. Restaurants continued to be built. In the restaurants, all kinds of delicacies, spirit fruits, spirit wine, and spirit grains were sought after by many experts. They willingly took out a large amount of demon coins. All kinds of buildings were constantly being completed. The experts of the all heavens all knew that the Bedlam lands would descend in a year and a half, so they weren't in a hurry. That amount of time might be a long time for mortals, but for cultivators it was like a short nap and a short cultivation session. They didn't care too much about it. Instead, they temporarily stayed in the Myriad Demon City. All kinds of people made the Myriad Demon City bustling with noise and excitement. It also made the city earn a huge amount of wealth. What a magnificent, unrivaled divine city! Back then, Tian Jizi probably never thought that this city, which he personally designed and never had any extravagant hopes to build, would actually be built and appear in the world one day. Dishur Tian is truly a mighty lord that has never appeared in the demon race since ancient times. In an inexplicable place in the endless void, Know-It-All and the cold demon monarch stood in the air, looking at the vast ancient city hanging quietly in the void. An endless sigh came out of Know-It-All's mouth. Young Mrs. Nurturing was not in vain. The demon monarch's eyes were as cold as usual. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 641. Haha, the Demon Lord's bloodline is naturally extraordinary. Miss Z, you must be preparing for the inheritance of the tomb of the gods. The Know-It-All looked up at the void. His deep eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the boundary of the void and see the future on the other side. There was a kind of loneliness, a kind of emotion, and even the vicissitudes of time. He sighed and said, "There are 9 tombs in the world. No one knows the origin of the tombs. It is said that the Destiny Sovereign, the Demon Lord, and the Space Sovereign have all discussed and speculated that there was an eternal heaven realm above the boundless chaos before the Source Continent and the Demon God Continent. Above the chaos, transcending eternity, eternal immortality. These 9 tombs are the inheritances left behind by the supreme experts of the eternal heaven realm." As he spoke, Know-It-All shook his head doubtfully. Speculations were, in the end, just speculations. There were some things that even the 3 sovereigns, existences who transcended fate and stood at the very peak of the chaos world, could not estimate. Was there really an eternal celestial realm above the chaos? No one in the world knew the answer to this question. It was said that even the 3 supreme sovereigns were constantly exploring the chaos world, wanting to break through the chaos world and rush out of it to see if the legendary eternal heaven realm really existed. In short, the 9 tombs were full of too many mysteries, and if one obtained the inheritance of the tomb of the gods, they would certainly break through the shackles of the supreme experts and ascend to the ranks of the supreme eternal heaven realm. 9 tombs meant that at least 9 eternal sovereigns would be born. Miss Zu is blessed by the heavens and has been recognized by the 4th tomb of the gods. She should be able to transcend and attain the Tao after this great tribulation. The know-it-all's old eyes were full of deep envy. The tomb of the gods, it was a supreme opportunity that even innate spiritual treasures could not exchange for. Anyone would go crazy for it. Mrs. Status is incomparably noble, and her talent is rare in the world. Back in the ancient times, she had the supreme courage to seal her physical body in the tomb of the gods. She divided her primordial spirit into 9 parts and entered the cycle of reincarnation. With the power of reincarnation, she reincarnated 100 times to restore her spirit. Once the 9 parts return to one, it will be the day when she achieves the supreme Tao. The demon lord slowly narrated, his heart filled with reverence. After obtaining young Miss Linglong Treasure Pagoda, if this D-brat still doesn't have any accomplishments, there is no need for young Miss to appear. I will directly turn him into dust with a single palm. Ha ha! When Know-it-all heard this, he couldn't help but laugh mockingly and said, Demon Lord, you want to kill that brat D with 1 palm? Heh, if it was in the past, these words might not be wrong. But now, I'm afraid that even you may not be able to easily kill him. That kid's trump cards are endless. Even an old man like me can't see through them. This kid had a terrifying trump card in his hand. If you really fought, even if you could kill him, you would suffer a heavy injury that you would never be able to recover from, or even perish. Furthermore, this myriad demon city is only in its initial stages of construction. Everything on it is fake. If it can really be replaced with genuine connate numinous treasures, such as the top-grade connate numinous treasure 4 cardinal heavenly gates, the superior-grade connate numinous treasure cloud converging banner, and the top-grade connate numinous treasure taboo red lotus, the myriad demon city is only in its initial stages. He was afraid that this city would really become an unparalleled ancient city that could suppress the myriad of world. He could traverse the chaos and surpass it. Interesting, this is too interesting. The divine light in the demon lord's eyes suddenly froze. He seriously looked at Know-it-all. When he saw that there was no joking expression on his face, he couldn't help but secretly ponder, but he didn't immediately refute. In ancient times, the older generation knew that Know-it-all was an extremely unique existence in the world. His divine abilities were unfathomable and unfathomable. An extremely mysterious guy. He had always been playing games in the world. Moreover, he knew as many secrets as the stars. Every word was accurate. There were few lies. D. Shirtian's trump card? What could it be? In the demon lord's mind, he couldn't help but think, ha ha. This group of brats actually dared to set their eyes on the Thousand Calamity Cave. Thousand Calamity Ancestor was an unparalleled fierce god in ancient times. Set their eyes on his cave? That's a matter of life and death. Know-it-all looked at the bustling demon city with great interest and said with a mocking face, Thousand Calamity Ancestor, that fierce god, although I heard that he had fallen, his cave is not simple. As far as I know, there are 5 great desolate regions guarding the cave. 5 of the 9 great spiritual pearls are used as suppressing treasures. If you want to search for treasures, I'm afraid that half of you will die in the 5 great desolate regions before even seeing the treasures. However, if you have the strength, those 5 spiritual pearls are several supreme treasures. Gold spiritual pearl, water spiritual pearl, fire spiritual pearl, wind spiritual pearl, thunder spiritual pearl. TSK. You're in for a treat. Demon Lord, let's go, let's also walk around the city. That brat surnamed D, other things are silly, but his wine brewing skills are first class. I heard that the spirit wine in the immortal wine pavilion is a supreme treasure in the myriad of worlds. Let's go in and have a taste. Speaking of wine, Noatal's saliva almost dripped down. He didn't stay any longer and directly walked into the ancient city. The demon lord thought for a while and finally followed behind. This is Demon City? After Know-it-all and the others left, a graceful figure appeared out of thin air. Strangely enough, the astral winds that were constantly blowing around her calmed down strangely after she appeared, as if they were consciously avoiding the area within a radius of 10 feet. This figure was always shrouded in a strange layer of darkness. It was not an ordinary darkness, but the surrounding light that fell on her body would be directly swallowed by her body. On her shoulder, there was a simple and unadorned ancient lamp on her shoulder. In the ancient lamp, a faint green light bloomed, illuminating the surrounding 10-jong radius. The faint light made people tremble with fear. That year, in the god-perishing abyss, it should be that demon tribe that had plundered the largest amount of treasures. At first, I just wanted to see if the famous Di-Shirtion was as powerful as the rumors said. However, this chaotic place is suitable for me to use as a training ground. Xian Ming thoughtfully looked at the ancient city and pondered for a while. After a while, he seemed to have made a decision. The netherworld ghost lamp on his shoulder bloomed with dazzling light, suddenly covering 100-jong radius. Instantly, this area seemed to be completely isolated. Vaguely, it formed a strange black hole. As time went by, a large number of experts from the myriad of worlds came to the endless void. It seemed that they were consciously gathering in the demon city. Almost every day, there were new outsiders entering the ancient city. In this desolate void, the demon city was very lively. Many cultivators came to the city after hearing the news. They brought all kinds of consumables, magical treasures, elixirs, talismans, materials, and so on. When they came to the ancient city, they didn't do anything but sit on both sides of the street and set up stalls. Moreover, when they traded, they also received demon coins. Apparently, demon coins had gradually become popular. In the black market, there were already people who exchanged one upper-grade spirit stone for one demon coin. This exchange rate was still increasing. Demon coins were not only exquisite and perfect, but they were also difficult to be destroyed. This point was very popular among cultivators. These cultivators sold their goods and immediately turned around to buy the specialties of the demon city. They sold them to other places and made a lot of money. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Unknowingly, a year had passed quietly between heaven and earth. In the city, excluding the demon tribe, there were no less than 3 million outsiders. The number was huge. The city seemed to be calm and tranquil, and it was a bustling scene. However, strands of terrifying undercurrents were hidden amidst this calm atmosphere. Rumble. After a year of peace in the ancient city, the entire demon city suddenly shook violently without warning. It was as if it had suffered a huge impact in an instant. It actually caused the vast ancient city to tremble. Swish, 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 swish. The experts who were cultivating in the inn opened their eyes almost at the same time. They rushed out of their rooms at the same time and landed on the open ground. They looked up at the endless void. Many pairs of eyes emitted a threatening light. They all thought to themselves, "It's finally going to start." Boom, boom, boom. In the endless void, countless terrifying gales rolled up. Countless spatial blades formed by spatial fragments flew all over the sky. They cut terrifying cracks in the void. Through the cracks, one could see a vast world on the other side of the cracks. They cut open the barrier of space. A hurricane filled with destructive force blew in all directions. Countless terrifying lightning bolts streaked across the sky like a torrential storm, bombarding the meteorites and turning them into dust. Thunderbolts, storms, spacetime turbulence, terrifying black holes, meteorites from outer space, destructive flames, 9 heavens hurricane, and so on. All kinds of terrifying disasters erupted in the void, as if they were going to a market. In an instant, the entire void was twisted into chaos. The eruption of power almost caused the void to shake continuously. The demon city was near the storm. The terrifying power of the disasters crashed into the demon city. Although it was blocked by the divine prohibition, but the vast power still caused the entire ancient city to shake continuously and let out terrifying roars. The void was filled with destructive aura. There were storms everywhere. It was a terrifying scene that looked like the end of the world. Storms, void riots, the appearance of disasters. This must be the scene when the land of chaos is about to appear somewhere. Haha, I've waited for a year. The land of chaos is about to appear nearby. There are countless ancient tombs in the land of chaos. There is also the Myriad Calamity cave abode of Myriad Calamity Ancestor. This time, with the Myriad Calamity compass guiding the way, we will definitely find the Myriad Calamity cave abode. At that time, it will be my time to show off. With 1 or 2 supreme treasures, I will be able to suppress the young generation of geniuses. Fortunately, we are in the demon city and have the protection of the ancient city. Otherwise, if we were to encounter such a terrifying storm outside, I'm afraid we would be crushed on the spot. We would be ground to dust. Countless shouts rang out in the ancient city. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 642. Those who have votes, please vote for me. The update time has been set. It's usually at 7 p.m., and the second update will be at 11:30 p.m. If there are no accidents, it will be updated at this time. The boundless calamity engulfed a large area of the void. The void was constantly being annihilated. The terrifying storm shattered everything. Everywhere was filled with a destructive aura. It was a scene of great destruction. If these storms and gales were to be blown into a lesser thousand world, they would annihilate all life in the lesser thousand world on the spot. Even the world itself would be completely destroyed. There was no lack of sovereigns in the myriad demon city. Even if it was them, when they saw the boiling void and the calamity filling every inch of space, the space would be annihilated hundreds or thousands of times every second. Even if they had an immortal body, they would probably be crushed on the spot. It was too terrifying. Their faces turned pale. Hua! In the Linglong Treasure Pagoda, Di Shirtian, who had been sitting cross-legged and absorbing the yuan qi of heaven and earth and the power of desire, suddenly opened his eyes. The pitch-black vortex formed by the massive amount of yuan qi above his head quickly dissipated. In his eyes, there was a faint, strange, seven-colored halo. After seeing it, one's mind would be shaken, and countless desires and illusions would appear in one's mind. It was as if one was in a boundless illusion. Above his head, a gorgeous picture scroll slowly folded and disappeared into his body. The 7th transformation of the monster core meant that he had mastered 7 types of power of desire. The power of desire was gradually revealed. It's finally starting. Di Shirtian looked at the void, as if he could directly see through the restrictions of the pagoda and see the endless void. The light in his eyes slowly dimmed and became profound. He suddenly stood up and waved his hand. The black robe on his body fluttered without wind, and his black hair was casually tied up by a purple hair band. 1 year, but I've stayed in this pagoda for 250 years. However, during this period of time, my cultivation base has been completely stabilized. Now that I've reached the peak of the 7th refinement stage, coupled with my abilities, I'll be able to put up a fight even if I encounter those young elite. Sakura stood proudly. In the past 250 years, he had spent almost all of his time on increasing his cultivation base. He had already opened up the 9th Emperor's true aperture in his 7th demonic vein, connecting all 7 demonic veins in his body. He was able to absorb the power of desire like a whale. His cultivation speed was 10 times faster than ordinary cultivators. De Chertien's book of the Royal Shocking World was worthy of being called an unparalleled skill. Not only could it absorb all kinds of chi of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and moon, but every time he opened a demon meridian, he could absorb a new kind of desire power into his body and merge it with the Black Lotus. It would make him absorb the chi of heaven and earth and increase the speed of his desire power. Compared to ordinary cultivators of the same level, his cultivation speed was incomparable. After opening his first demon vein, he was able to absorb the power of desire. His cultivation speed was already 3 times faster than cultivators of the same level. After opening his second demon vein, his cultivation speed was already 6 times faster than cultivators of the same level. Every time he opened a demon vein and obtained the power of desire, his cultivation speed would increase by another 3 times. This increase was because he could absorb the chi of desire that others could not. Naturally, the additional absorption would greatly increase the speed of his cultivation. By now, he had opened up 7 demonic veins and connected them completely. Based on the fact that each demonic vein could increase his cultivation speed by 3 times, his current cultivation speed was 21 times faster than other big ancient demons with 7th revolution Yaodan cores. He only needed to cultivate for 1 day to be comparable to others who cultivated for 21 days. However, the further one progressed in cultivation, the more difficult it was to improve. Usually, it would take tens of thousands of years to advance to the next level. After reaching the 7th refinement stage, a great ancient demon would normally need more than 1,000 years to advance to the 8th refinement stage. Ordinary demons would need at least 10,000 years to advance from the 8th refinement stage to the 9th refinement stage. It was clear that cultivation was simple, but every step was difficult. Of course, if De Chertien wanted to increase his cultivation, he would not have remained at the 7th refinement stage for more than 200 years. With the support of the vast amount of heavenly yuan pills, he would have advanced to the next level in less than a few decades. Your foundation is already quite solid. With your willpower, it shouldn't be difficult for you to pass the test of the realm of desire. Why don't you break through to the 8th refinement stage in the pagoda before heading to the Bedlam lands? Ming's eyes darted around as he said, "Don't worry, the Bedlam lands are filled with terrifying disasters. Even if the All Heavens experts enter first, they won't be able to pass through the layers of obstacles easily. The myriad calamity compass was personally refined by me. It leads the way like a maze. I'll make them circle around for 3 days for a day's journey. There are countless dangerous places along the way. If they want to find the myriad calamity cave abode, they will have to spend at least a month or 2 in the Bedlam land. At that time, with me leading the way, we will be able to arrive in time, no matter how long we are delayed." As he spoke, a solemn expression appeared on Ming's face. He said in a deep voice, "Moreover, the myriad calamity ancestor is a fierce god. Even if he has died, his cave abode will be filled with countless traps, countless killer moves. No matter what, the higher your cultivation, the better. The stronger your cultivation, the better." With a flash of light in his hand, the god of wine gourd appeared. He held the gourd and poured a stream of amber water into his mouth. Every drop contained an incomparably vast amount of pure essence. This was the heaven-rank spirit wine that he had refined over the years. The emerald blood amber wine. As soon as the wine entered his throat, a burning sensation flowed from his throat to his abdomen. In an instant, it spread to every inch of his flesh and blood. The blood in his body suddenly began to boil and burn. The pulsation of his blood caused his flesh and blood to vibrate joyfully. It nourished his flesh and blood. An enormous amount of essence surged into the Black Lotus in his demon mansion. Looking at the Black Lotus now, it was at least rank 8. The rank 8 that had just been born back then had transformed from its original dim state to a crystal-like black. Lines of runes appeared on the surface of the talisman. Strange runes glowed with divine radiance. Inside the Black Lotus, the 4 talismans were constantly absorbing all kinds of vital chi. The seal scripts on the talismans became clearer and more condensed, as if they were real. However, in the Black Lotus, the rank 8 was still blocked by a layer of barrier. It was unable to achieve perfect harmony. It was a state of complete harmony. In the rank 8, the massive amount of fragrance power had reached the state of liquefaction. It filled the vast Black Lotus, and it was almost impossible to increase it any further. In the Black Lotus, the golden Huangji true force filled every inch of space. The Huangji true force had reached a peak. If the 36 transcendence forms in the Grand Emperor's true aperture were constantly absorbing the various kinds of yuan qi in the air to refine their transcendence forms, the increase in power at every moment would be unable to exceed the limits of what they could control. Once the power exceeded the limit, he would not be able to control the realm. This might not be a good thing. Looking inside his body, there were 7 crystal-like demon veins running through his body. They were extremely thick and tough. On the main demon vein, there were countless small branches extending into the flesh and blood of his body, transmitting a vast amount of power. On each demon vein, there were 9 bright golden light spots. They were as dazzling as the sun in the dark night. Those were the molded Huangji true acupoints. Looking at the 7 demon veins, there were a total of 63 Huangji true acupoints. Among them, 36 were the brightest. They were as dazzling as the sun, emitting divine radiance. The rest were relatively dim, and the blood in his body had all transformed into a golden color. It carried a supreme aura of nobility. At the stage of blood transformation, the transformation was successful. It's time for another breakthrough. Tian nodded to himself. Everything about him had reached the peak state of the 7th transformation of the demon pill. Almost everything that could be improved had been upgraded. Now, breaking through was already a matter of course. When the conditions were right, success would come naturally. Lunatic D, you have now cultivated the immortal body to the halfway point. Indestructible bones, blood transformation, marrow cleansing, and demon veins remodeled. Next, you have to refine your flesh and blood into a treasure body. You have to refine it into an indestructible diamond body that can block divine weapons and Dharma treasures. As long as you can complete it, you will have successfully cultivated the immortal body. You just have to go through the 9th transformation body forging. That will be the true immortal body. Ming was also excited. If he could cultivate the immortal body when he was still a great demon, it would mean that he would have the combat strength of a great demon even if he did not reach the heavenly demon realm. He could really challenge those of a higher realm, suppressing all directions. Boom! Shirtian's body shook, and a vast and boundless aura gushed out of his body. The aura of the peak 7th transformation of the demon pill shook the void. The will of heaven and earth was triggered on the spot. Above his head, there was a violent tremor, and black tribulation clouds formed out of thin air. They emerged. The 79 demonic tribulation, descending. At this moment, when Tian was triggering the tribulation clouds and preparing to break through, the endless void was like boiling water. All kinds of disasters flashed repeatedly. Thunderclouds and storms filled every inch of the void. Every part of the void was destroyed and annihilated countless times. In Demon City, experts from all over the universe stood in various open spaces, craning their necks as they waited for the land of chaos to descend. However, the horror in their eyes couldn't be concealed as they witnessed the terrifying calamity. A shadow of fear shrouded their hearts in the face of those terrible disasters. Rumble! Suddenly, in the midst of the boundless disaster, space collapsed without any warning. Suddenly, a vast colossus emerged out of nowhere from the void with a loud boom. In an instant, it strangely suppressed all kinds of disasters in the void. It caused the surrounding void to become strangely calm and tranquil. Haha, the land of chaos, this is the land of chaos. After waiting for a year, it's finally here. Legend has it that there are countless ancient tombs in the land of chaos. If you can obtain one, you can easily become an expert. The myriad tribulations cave abode is above. The heavens will bless me. Let me obtain endless treasures. Charge. A vast and boundless continent appeared in the void. It was incomparably huge. Compared to this continent, Shirtian's demon city was incomparably small. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 643. It's almost time for the climax. Brothers, let's buy tickets for those who have them. As soon as the vast land of chaos descended, the surrounding void strangely calmed down. It was like a god that had existed since ancient times, standing tall in the endless void. The natural pressure it exuded was enough to shock people. An ancient aura flowed in the surroundings. It revealed its long history. Quick, let's rush up. The land of chaos is somewhere. After 3 days, it will continue to drift in the endless void. It will be difficult to find it again. No one knows where it will appear next. If we don't go now, it will be too late. The endless tombs in the land of chaos are waiting for me to excavate. Immediately, many cultivators and powerhouses who wanted to try their luck in the land of chaos no longer hesitated. They began to pack up their belongings and quickly rushed to the southern heaven gate. The blood kill guards maintained order in the city. Although many cultivators were anxious to go to the land of chaos, they didn't dare to be presumptuous in the ancient city. In this 1 year, there was no lack of arrogant and unruly experts. They used their cultivation and divine abilities to fight and cause trouble in the city. However, they were all captured by the blood kill guards on the spot and thrown into the heavenly prison. Thousands of them were locked up obediently, forging the reputation of the blood kill guards and the heavenly prison's fierce reputation. No matter how noble one's status was outside, they had to abide by the rules in the ancient city. In order to let those who had nowhere to vent their energy have something to do, who even built an arena in the ancient city after consulting Shirtian. In the arena, 9 arenas were built, all made of divine crystals. Even the ancient powerhouses couldn't easily destroy them. Needless to say, after the arena was built, it immediately became popular with those who had nowhere to vent their energy. They even set up arenas and started gambling. It made the myriad demon city much more prosperous. With the powerful strength of the myriad demon city, even at this moment, no one dared to be presumptuous when they arrived at the southern heaven gate. They rushed out of the gate in an orderly manner and soared into the sky, flying toward the land of chaos at their fastest speed. Second brother, third brother, hurry up and follow me. Young Miss said that there's something fun up there. We don't have to be afraid of those disasters. Look at me, I'm dressed so well. This is called being covered with steel. A burly man, who was completely covered in a layer of dark armor, with only a pair of moving eyes, rushed out of the southern heaven gate and followed into the chaos realm, yelling in a buzzing voice. His voice was like thunder. Hee, big brother, you're right. With us 3 brothers together, we don't need to be afraid of anyone other than the young Mississippi. Let's see who can block the 2 kitchen knives in my hand. Humph, no matter how high their cultivation is, they still need to be afraid of my kitchen knives. A tall and sturdy man who was not inferior to the former also rushed out, holding 2 huge kitchen knives in his hands. Just like the butcher, he took a step and shook his head twice. The brick in my hand isn't any worse than yours. Let's see who dares to block me. I'll knock him down with a brick. Old Third rushed out. When the cultivators behind heard this, their noses almost went crooked from anger. Damn it, those 3 are clowns. They look like barbarians who came from a mountain village. There's no justice in this world. How can these 3 fellas cultivate to such a level? Heaven must be blind. A cultivator shook his head and sighed at the sky, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. There was a big bump on his forehead, which seemed to have been smashed by something. He was speechless. Moreover, he was an immortal duke. More than 1,000,000 cultivators did not hesitate at all. They used all kinds of methods to rush into the chaos realm. However, there were still many cultivators who didn't seem to want to enter the Bedlam lands. Perhaps it was because they were timid, or perhaps it was because of other reasons, but they didn't enter the Bedlam lands and instead chose to stay in the Demon City. Obviously, many of them were aware that the treasures in the Bedlam lands were not something they could obtain. A cultivator rushed into the Chaos realm. As soon as he landed on the ground, before he could take a closer look at the scenery in front of him, he suddenly let out a shrill scream. The ground under his feet that he thought was flat suddenly collapsed, turning into a pitch-black swamp. Black poisonous gas and black bubbles rose from the swamp. The cultivator stood on the swamp. His feet were covered by the black gas at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant it spread to his entire body. As his body sank into the swamp, his flesh and blood began to rapidly disintegrate. In the blink of an eye, his flesh and blood completely festered. Even his primordial spirit was poisoned to death. All that was left was a pitch-black skeleton that was swallowed up by the swamp. Whoosh! Some of the cultivators who were about to land on the ground broke out in cold sweat. Their hearts were chilled. If they had landed on the ground just a little faster, they would have been reduced to ashes as well. An immortal monarch realm expert that was an immortal monarch had actually died so easily in front of his eyes. He had died from the terrifying poison in the swamp? This kind of situation could not help but send a chill down one's spine. Woo-woo! Just as many of them were rejoicing that they did not land on the ground, the sound of wind howling could be heard in the air. An invisible gust of wind blew through the void. When the gust of wind reached them, they could see that it was pitch black. Run. That's the 9 shades een wind. If you're blown by it, you won't even be able to turn into ashes. Terrifying, this place is too terrifying. The land of chaos is indeed full of disasters and dangers. There's the danger of dying at any time. Run, run. I don't want to stay in this land of chaos anymore. The expression of the cultivators who recognized the origin of black wind changed greatly. They hurriedly cast all kinds of defensive spells and magic treasures to protect themselves. Below them, they turned around and fled. They were actually scared out of their wits by the terrible disaster in the land of chaos. They were preparing to leave this place and return to Demon City. However, the 9 shades een wind was incomparably fast. It swept past them in almost an instant. On the spot, the bodies of the dozens of cultivators stiffened, and the magic treasures on their bodies turned into dust. Moreover, a gust of wind blew past, and the originally living creatures were turned into dust and scattered in the wind. It was incomparably terrifying. The land of chaos was simply a huge graveyard that could bury any expert who entered this place. Disasters were everywhere. They could appear at any time and anywhere. Fatal things could happen at any time. Even those experts who used to be high and mighty would die in an instant. They did not even have the chance to resist. Terrifying, too terrifying. Without any powerful means, entering this place was equivalent to courting death. Large expanses of destructive lightning, all kinds of storms, swamps on the ground, toxins in the air, some terrifying fierce beasts living here, astral winds, poisonous flames, and so on. Many disasters flashed by almost continuously. Some cultivators who wanted to join in the fun and see if they could be lucky enough to obtain an opportunity did not even manage to go far in the land of chaos before they were completely destroyed by the endless disasters. Not even a trace of bones was left behind. That terrifying scene was simply too shocking. However, the disasters in the land of chaos could not stop the boundless desire. Driven by desire, even if it was a mountain of swords or a sea of flames, there would still be people who would venture into it. The number of experts who entered the land of chaos was still as many as the stars in the sky. They were constantly rushing over from the endless void. For a time, it became very lively. In this regard, without D. Shirtian's order, the group of demons in Myriad Demon City did not move and continued to guard the ancient city. Sister, the land of chaos has already appeared. Why hasn't brother-in-law come out yet? If he doesn't come out in 3 days, we won't be able to find him again. If we miss this opportunity, we don't know how long we will have to wait for the next time. In the Jade Pool, a little girl who looked to be 12 or 13 years old, wearing a fiery red dress and looking like carved jade, was pouting her little mouth. She hugged Chen-Shi's arm and shook it back and forth, muttering to herself. "Zhu, can't you be quiet for a while?" Chen-Shi looked at her helplessly, shook his head and said, "Your brother-in-law is now at the critical moment of his closed-door cultivation. He will naturally come out after passing the 79 demon tribulations. Moreover, entering the land of chaos early doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to obtain good treasures. It doesn't make much of a difference whether you go early or late." He glanced at her and said, "Also, don't think of following your brother-in-law into the land of chaos. That place is too dangerous. There is the danger of losing your life at any time." When Zhu heard this, she immediately became like a frosted eggplant, pouting discontentedly and acting coquettishly. "Oh right, sister, you must be careful of Su Tianxiang. She is a vixen who knows how to seduce men. When she was in the Thousand Demon Valley, she already had designs on brother-in-law. Now, she looks at brother-in-law with teary eyes. Don't let her snatch brother-in-law away. She definitely wants to share brother-in-law with sister." Zhu's eyes darted around a few times before she suddenly changed the topic. When Chen-Shi heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. He couldn't help but reach out a finger and lightly poked her forehead, saying in an exasperated tone, I really don't know what's going on in that little head of yours." Then, he raised his head and looked at the void. There was a trace of sadness in his eyes, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. He calmly said, "Your brother-in-law is now the demon race's demon emperor. His status is incomparably noble. He cultivates the emperor's Tao. In the future, he may not only have sister as his only wife. Since I am now the demon empress, I should have the bearing of a mother. For example, your sister Tianxiang is also worthy of the position of demon concubine. If your brother-in-law really likes it, it's not impossible to take her as his demon concubine." However, she didn't know that when she said this, a figure in palace attire was standing in a corner. He was just about to come out. When he heard this, his body couldn't help but tremble. After a moment of silence, he turned and left. Crack! In the Linglong Treasure Pagoda, in the void, countless terrifying lightning bolts, like thunder dragons, crazily shuttled back and forth in the dark tribulation clouds, colliding with each other and making a terrible roar. An incomparably oppressive aura, like a tide, poured down, filling every inch of space between heaven and earth. D. Shirtian stood proudly under the heavenly tribulation. Behind him, his black hair danced wantonly, and a trace of arrogance flew up. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 644. 8-9 Demonic Tribulation, the Fragrant Desire State. Watch me break through all restraints and break through. Sakra could feel the vast heavenly might outside of his body. The might of heaven and earth filled every inch of space around him. The dark and oppressive tribulation clouds made the surrounding aura extremely oppressive. Even breathing seemed a little difficult. It was so dignified that it was a little scary. Standing under the boundless tribulation clouds, he was like an ancient emperor. A kind of natural majesty, a supreme noble aura, was naturally revealed. Standing proudly, he watched the tribulation clouds converge. However, in the blink of an eye, His eyes gradually closed. His whole mind appeared in the black lotus in an instant. His mind was flowing with the proverbs of the imperial tyrant heart technique. Every word was like a pearl, making his whole mind become smoother and smoother. A kind of supreme emperor's heart flowed in his mind. He was an emperor. The emperor's heart was not affected by anything external. In heaven and earth, I am the only one. Maintaining this kind of emperor's heart, even in the face of the collapse of heaven and earth, or the withering of the sun and moon, his mind was as one. Nothing could affect his mind. It could affect his will. I am the emperor. My fate is in my hands. With ease, he sent his primordial spirit into the 8th grade of the Black Lotus, ready to start the 7th test of the realm of desire. The fragrant desire state was also the fragrant desire state. Rumble. However, in this 7th test of the realm of desire, there was a strange change. Just as his mind entered the boundless desire, suddenly, the power of fragrance that had been completely liquefied in the 7th grade suddenly began to boil. It was as if in an instant it had completely erupted. A huge amount of power of fragrance rushed out of the Black Lotus like a vast dragon roaring. Tian did not expect that there would be such a change. The moment the power of desire was withdrawn, a terrible pain was emitted from all over his body. Happiness, anger, sorrow, taste, hearing, seeing. These were the first 6 states of desire, and the 7th transformation of the Yaodan was the 7th volume of the Book of Huangji shocking the world. Now that the 7th volume had been completed, the 7th Yaodan vein had been completely opened, and the 9th imperial true acupoint had been condensed. This meant that the 7th desire, the desire of fragrance and the desire of smell, had been completed. It was time to accept the test of the state of desire. Passing the test would allow one to smoothly break through to the 8th transformation of the Yaodan. At the same time, he could also begin to break through the 8th demon vein and obtain the 8th desire. I just did some calculations. I forgot to adjust the settings of the Black Lotus earlier. It's my fault. Every grade of Black Lotus corresponds to one type of power of desire. The Yaodan's 7 transformations should correspond to a grade 7 Black Lotus. I'll correct it here. In that case, it would be easier to read. However, he didn't expect that when he was about to reach the desire state, the power of the fragrance in the Black Lotus would rush out of the bindings of the Black Lotus and escape from his body. This kind of situation was undoubtedly like cutting flesh from his body. The pain was immeasurable. He saw that, on Sakra's body, countless strands of pitch-black power of desire surged out like a tide. In an instant, it rushed into the tribulation clouds. The power of desire actually strangely merged with the tribulation clouds, causing the originally abnormally pitch-black tribulation clouds to suddenly become even more pitch-black, making it frightening to look at. Oh no, the power of desire has merged with the tribulation clouds. This is to let you experience the terrifying tribulation of the fusion of the two at the same time. I'm afraid this is even more terrifying than separately. The divine thunder that came down is not an ordinary one, but the thunder of desire. Lunatic D, you must be careful. Seeing this, Ming's expression changed greatly. The fusion of the power of desire and the tribulation would definitely produce extremely terrifying consequences, brewing an even more terrifying demon tribulation. I didn't expect it to descend in such a way. Tian was also shocked. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. Huff! He took a deep breath. Suddenly, his nose became sensitive. A strange fragrance came from the air and entered his body. Almost instantly, his entire heart, liver, spleen, kidneys, and stomach seemed to have taken drugs. It was as if he was floating in the air like an immortal, extremely comfortable. In his mind, thoughts flashed. It was as if he had suddenly risen above the heavens and become an unparalleled emperor. The scene before his eyes suddenly changed. It was as if he was in a fairyland with birds chirping and flowers blooming. He was surrounded by beauties and all kinds of precious treasures. He had everything he wanted. Oh no, this fragrance is strange. No, it's poisonous. As long as it is breathed into the body, it will affect the will and the mind. It can poison the body. It's poisonous, it's poisonous. When Ming saw the divine light in Di Shitian's eyes suddenly disappear, as if they were out of focus, he immediately shouted. This fragrance was obviously a tribulation incense that was produced by the combination of the power of desire and the tribulation. The tribulation had already begun to show its power. The desire of the fragrance was originally a desire for the sense of smell. The heavenly tribulation produced by this needle immediately erupted with an extremely terrifying power. Even Di Shitian was affected in an instant. Crack! A terrifying bolt of pitch-black divine lightning roared from the tribulation clouds and charged towards Sakura. Within the heavenly tribulation, not only did it contain the terrifying power of destruction, it also contained the terrifying power of desire. Looking at the lightning, one could faintly see countless indestructible obsessions within it. Bursts of exotic fragrance bewitched one's mind. When going through the tribulation, who didn't focus their mind and prepare to deal with the tribulation? They had to use all kinds of magic treasures and magical powers to block it. If at this time, one's mind was in a trance and fell into an illusion, it would be a tragedy. I am who I am. If I were to ascend to the throne of the emperor, it would be because of my own hard work. What is important is not the position, but the process. How can mere illusions shake this emperor's mind and will? Everything is illusory. Break for me. How tenacious was Sakura's mind, and how tyrannical was his willpower. Almost in an instant, he realized that something was wrong. How could he not know that he had already fallen into a trap and had fallen into an illusion? Just by breathing in a breath of fragrance, it could make him produce such terrifying signs. He also guessed that the following heavenly tribulation would definitely be even more terrifying. His collapsed eyes quickly regained their clarity. In an instant, he became aware of his body's condition. He discovered that the fragrance was not only capable of causing one to fantasize, but it also contained a potent poison. His internal organs were all turning black, and his life force was being eroded. It was not only the fragrance, but also the poisonous gas. Under the effects of the deadly poison, his strength was continuously being depleted. A pitch-black gas was rapidly spreading on his skin at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was about to cover his entire body. It was extremely terrifying. His strength was draining. In just a few breaths, he could feel that his strength had dropped by almost half. Moreover, the strong poison was eroding his flesh and blood. His flesh and blood were rotting. Even with the cultivation of a seventh transformation demon core, there was no way to resist the invasion of the strong poison. It was terrifying to the extreme. If it were anyone else, they would have already started to despair. No matter how strong the poison is, as long as it is in my body, it will not be able to do anything. Demon refining cauldron, gather all the poison for me and devour it to refine it into vitality. I have a heaven-grade demon abode, I have the demon refining cauldron. Even the strong poison will not be able to do anything to me. Di Shitian sensed the situation in his body and could not help but roar. With a thought, he activated the demon refining cauldron in the demon abode. Immediately, a strong devouring force burst forth from the exquisite and simple jade cauldron. The demon refining cauldron began to rotate violently. Suddenly, a hurricane swept up in his body. In the flesh and blood that was originally poisoned by the strong poison, strands of black poison gas were separated from the flesh and blood. Following the irresistible devouring force, they gathered in the demon refining cauldron. With the separation of the poison gas, Di Shitian's strength quickly recovered. Crazy D, listen to me now. The heavenly tribulation in front of you is the best opportunity for you to refine your flesh and blood and transform your body into a treasure body, an invincible Vajra body. Immediately use the power of the heavenly tribulation to disperse your flesh and blood. Use the power of the heavenly tribulation to refine your flesh and blood, and then use your supreme will to reconstruct your body. Devour endless power to establish the foundation of your immortal body. At this moment, Ming said with an unusually serious expression, "Disperse my flesh and reconstruct my demon body?" Di Shirtian's eyes flashed with a touch of determination. He said, "Go all out?" If the flesh was dispersed and could not be reassembled, it meant that the flesh and blood would collapse. Losing the flesh and blood was the most terrifying thing in the world. There was the danger of dying on the spot. Boom. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. That pitch-black divine lightning that was as thick as a water bucket smashed onto Sakra's body, but he didn't dodge. Instead, he allowed the heavenly lightning to strike his body. The power contained in the divine lightning burst out in an instant. The pitch-black electric light covered every inch of Xiao Chen's body. Crack! Under the situation where the Sakra deliberately did not resist, a series of sinister and terrifying cracks appeared on his tough demon body, and within the cracks, one could see the bright red flesh and blood. Rumble! When the lightning appeared, the terrifying heavenly lightning swept over like a storm from the tribulation clouds. In the blink of an eye, Di Shirtian was completely covered by the heavenly tribulation. The lightning exploded with terrifying destructive power, constantly destroying the strong demon body. Moreover, to destroy the flesh and blood, not only could he not resist, but he also had to use his supreme will to restrain his strength and not let it resist on its own. That kind of boundless pain was almost indescribable with words. Furthermore, the power of desire contained within the tribulation lightning was constantly corroding his mind. It wanted to pull his mind into a boundless illusion and completely sink into it. All of the desires used smell to attack. There was a fragrance that caused one's mind to hallucinate, a terrifying poisonous gas that could poison one's body, a fiery aura that could burn one's body when inhaled, a stench that could make one faint, and so on. All kinds of smells made Di Shirtian feel all kinds of smells in the world in an instant. There was even a kind of truth of heaven and earth, a kind of understanding of life and a boundless obsession. He used his body to understand all the smells in the world. He also had an unforgettable understanding of them. Crack! With a crisp sound, the demon body, which was already covered with countless cracks, collapsed on the spot. It started to collapse at a speed visible to the naked eye. I took a look today and found that the myriad demons gained an elder, 3 hall masters, and 7 branch masters last month. I would like to thank all of you for your rewards. Your support is my motivation. I can't go all out this month, so I can only maintain the normal update. Next month, the month after that, I will go all out again. We are with the myriad demons. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 645. Boom. Di Shirtian's powerful demonic body collapsed on the spot, turning into balls of flesh and blood. The flesh and blood gathered together and condensed into a ball. Every cell was like a beggar who had been starving for countless years. They began to crazily plunder all the chi of heaven and earth around them. Even the power of the heavenly tribulation did not reject it and devoured it crazily. In the blink of an eye, in the process of devouring, the ball of flesh and blood produced golden blood droplet. Those were blood droplets that were mixed with flesh and blood. Each blood droplet naturally exuded a strong vitality and absorbed the endless chi of heaven and earth around them at an even faster speed. The power of desire, and even the heavenly thunder that was constantly bombarding down, were all devoured by them. It was like a bottomless pit with no limit. As the flesh and blood collapsed, a crystal-clear skeleton stood between the heavens and the earth. In the skeleton, 13 demonic veins were distributed all over the body. They were crystal clear. 7 of them were translucent like crystals, but the other 6 were abnormally dark. The other 6 had not been opened and connected. They were filled with divine splendor. For a moment, Tion was only left with the indestructible skeleton and the 13 demonic veins that he had created. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The ball of blood that was formed from his flesh and blood coiled above his head, emitting a strong devouring power. Immediately, a huge amount of yuan qi and desire power formed a frightening vortex in the sky. Within the vortex, countless energy poured into his flesh and blood like a funnel. For a time, golden yellow blood droplets continuously split apart within his flesh and blood. Around Tion's skeleton, blood droplets floated and rotated continuously. Every blood droplet was golden and filled with a noble aura that belonged to an emperor. These blood droplets seemed to contain a kind of extraordinary spirituality. They contained a strong vitality. A huge amount of essence qi flowed inside. Blood droplets split out continuously. Every time a blood droplet split, the ball of flesh and blood would shrink a little. As the heavenly tribulation continued, the speed at which the blood droplets split was slightly too slow. Since you want to devour, I'll let you have your fill. Heavenly primary elixir, come out. Jade blood tiger soul wine, little monkey wine, origin returning wine, come out. A hoarse voice rang out from the remaining skeleton. With a wave of its hand, 1,000,000 heavenly yuan pills immediately surged into the flesh like a surging wave. After charging into the flesh, they immediately transformed into vast and pure innate yuan qi. The vast innate yuan qi immediately enveloped the flesh. There was also all kinds of spirit wine being poured into it. Immediately, a large amount of blood droplets gushed out one after another. The speed at which the blood droplets split was almost 100 times, or even 1,000 times faster than before. In the blink of an eye, a large number of blood beads were split out. A large number of blood beads, like stars, revolved around his body. It spun continuously, looking incomparably gorgeous. Crack! When the whole mass of flesh and blood had completely split into blood beads, they could see that around Tion's skeleton, there were a total of 123,600 blood bead. It was exactly the number of 1 yuan. Each bead was round and translucent, emitting a noble golden divine light. Suddenly, all the blood beads flew into the sky without any warning, directly rushing into the tribulation clouds that filled the sky above. Each bead emitted a powerful devouring force, madly devouring the power of the entire tribulation. Countless lightning flashed continuously, rapidly refining the impurities in the blood beads, and instantly blasting them into powder. Lunatic D, quick, use your primordial spirit to suppress these blood essence. Otherwise, when they finish devouring the power of the tribulation, their spirituality will become even stronger. By then, they will escape in all directions. Each blood bead contains your essence qi, your vitality. If they escape, you won't be able to reconstruct your body, and heaven and earth will immediately send down the 5 signs of Deva. At that time, even if you have great luck, you will die under the 5 signs of Deva's decay. When Dark saw this, he immediately roared loudly. 7th grade Black Lotus, suppress I! Without hesitation, Tion's 7th grade Black Lotus flew out of his body. After the Black Lotus appeared, it began to spin, emitting waves of deep black light. On top of it, mysterious runes appeared. The moment the 123,600 blood beads finished devouring the tribulation, the Black Lotus appeared in the void. Countless rays of black divine light spread out from the Black Lotus, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Each ray of divine light exuded the noble aura of an emperor. It forcefully sealed the entire void. Although the blood beads were full of spirituality, darting left and right in the divine light, they could not escape the suppression of the Black Lotus. Not a single one of them was able to escape, as they were sealed in the void. Demon Refining Cauldron, collect the blood assimilation beads. The demon refining cauldron in his body began to spin violently, filling itself with a strong suction force, constantly drawing the sealed blood beads back to itself. Quickly integrate the blood beads into the bones with the supreme will, so that the bones will grow flesh. Then remodel the body. You have to be especially careful at this step. This blood bead has already devoured the tribulation and countless essence chi. It already has spirituality. It will not obediently let you integrate it into the bones. You have to use your will to suppress it. You have to resist its backlash. Humph! The blood bead that transformed from my body wants to resist I? It is simply defying the heavens. Integrate it with I. When Di Shurtian heard this, his heart turned cold. In his mind, the royal tyrant heart art repeated over and over again, and the emperor's chi around him grew thicker. The emperor's will instantly bound one of the blood beads. The blood bead was indeed extraordinary. Even if it was bound, it had already erupted with a powerful force, wanting to break through the bindings. Again and again, it collided with the divine sense and will of the Sakra, causing his mind to be shaken again and again. It was fed back into the Black Lotus, causing the Black Lotus to tremble slightly. However, it was bound by the Emperor's will. No matter how much the blood bead struggled, it could not break free from the bindings. Following Di Shurtian's will, it inched closer to the sparkling white bones. The first thing it fell on was the 5 fingers of his left hand. Pooh! When the blood droplets came into contact with the bones, there was some repulsion. However, under the irresistible will, the blood droplets were forcefully suppressed into the bones. Immediately, a strange golden halo appeared on the thumb of the left hand. Traces of blood appeared on the bony finger. Following that, flesh and blood rapidly covered the entire thumb at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the thumb also had flesh and blood, becoming a real body of flesh and blood. On the thumb, there were waves of sparkling light. Good, this is how to do it. Integrate all of them into the bones with your spiritual sense, and you will be able to regenerate flesh and blood. Forge a treasure body, Dark shouted in joy. Again, Di Shurtian's will did not waver at all. He immediately bound another blood bead and forced it into the bones. For a time, every time a blood bead integrated into the bones, flesh and blood would grow on the bones out of thin air, covering the bones. As the blood beads continued to integrate, the flesh and blood also grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, at the same time, the divine light on the Black Lotus began to dim faintly. This integration of blood beads actually consumes so much willpower? With my spirit, I'm afraid it will be exhausted after integrating 100 blood bead. Oh no, when the power of spirit is exhausted, I'm afraid I won't even be able to suppress these blood beads. Making flesh and blood grow on the bones was too taxing on the spirit. With his spirit, he could not support it at all. Fortunately, I have spiritual wine. Di Shurtian gathered his spirit. He summoned the god of wine gourd and poured a type of spiritual wine into the Black Lotus, sweet rain spirit nourishing wine. As soon as the spiritual wine fell into the Black Lotus, it immediately emitted waves of mellow fragrance. The exhausted spirit began to recover almost instantly. His whole spirit was lifted. The divine light on the Black Lotus blazed. He continued to absorb the blood beads. 1 yuan, 123,600 years. His body collapsed and condensed into 123,600 blood beads, which contained the truth of heaven and earth. Every time he integrated a blood bead, Di Shurtian's spirit chi would undergo a drastic change. His flesh and blood covered his whole body at a speed visible to the naked eye. With the support of the spiritual wine, It took a full 3 months for the 123,600 blood beads to completely integrate with his body. Boom, boom, boom. Tirtian was dressed in a black robe. His slender black hair danced wantonly behind him. The spirit chi emitted from his body caused the space around him to strangely distort, unable to withstand the vast pressure. Under the black robe, there were waves of sparkling and translucent light constantly flowing on the surface of his body. He casually took out a Dharma treasure in the shape of a ruler. He heavily smashed the ruler toward his outstretched left hand. Bang! Treasure light flashed on his arm, and a terrifying force instantly spewed out from the countless pores on his body. The jade ruler was smashed into powder and floated in the air. However, there was not even a scratch on his arm. That ruler could smash a 1,000-foot mountain into powder. Not only did it not hurt his arm, but it was also smashed into powder. Treasure body. This is definitely a treasure body. It can even block a divine weapon. I now have a true half-immortal body. Tirtian's eyes flashed when he saw this. He raised his head to look at the void and muttered to himself, 8th Transformation Monster Core, 8th Grade Black Lotus, 1/3 of the 8th demonic vein in my body has been opened, and 3 Imperial True Acupoints have been formed. I can also absorb the power of the desire to touch. After more than 200 years of seclusion, I finally gained something. He took a deep breath and withdrew all the spirit chi around him. His grasp of power had already reached a rather profound level. 8th Transformation Monster Core, 36 Dharma characteristics, and half-immortal body. With all kinds of divine powers at hand, it's time to meet those all-heavens experts and break into the myriad tribulations cave. Tirtian's body flashed and disappeared from the exquisite pagoda. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 646. An 8 Transformations Great Ancient Demon was equivalent to an immortal king. A 9 Transformations Great Ancient Demon was equivalent to an immortal lord. Once a 9 Transformations Great Ancient Demon broke through, his inner core would transform into a primordial spirit, and he would be promoted to an ancient demon saint. He was comparable to an immortal lord. However, Tirtian's 8 Transformations Great Ancient Demon was no ordinary demon. If those so-called immortal kings dared to be presumptuous and arrogant in front of him, he could kill them with a single finger. Even an immortal lord would be killed with a single palm. With half an immortal body, powerful divine skills, and combat strength, he was comparable to an emperor realm expert like an immortal lord. Roar! In the land of chaos that was full of disasters, a divine bird with 3 brilliant rays of divine light trailing behind it appeared in the sky. The divine bird's head was raised high, and its 2 eyes were full of spirituality. It revealed a proud expression, and its snow-white feathers glowed with divine light. It was like the king of birds. This was none other than the Emperor Phoenix that Tirtian had adopted. Judging from the aura emitted from her body, she was not inferior to a great monster. The Emperor Phoenix was the king of the savage beasts. Her bloodline was noble and her talent was tyrannical. It could be said that she was peerless. In addition, Sakra had spared no effort in cultivating her. The source of life, various kinds of spiritual items, heaven origin elixirs, and various kinds of spiritual wine were given to her without any hesitation. With the Linglong Treasure Pagoda's ability to reverse time, her combat strength had been completely raised in no less than 400 to 500 years. Her strength was even more powerful than her parents, whom she had met in the heaven-reaching pagoda. Even 10 great ancient demons of the same level might not be able to withstand her sharpness. On the back of the Emperor Phoenix, Sakra stood proudly. However, he wasn't the only one beside him. A peerless beauty in palace attire stood quietly, and beside her, there was also a little girl who looked like she was carved out of jade. Who else could it be but Baihu and Zhu? Wow. Is this the land of chaos that those fellows who come to our demon city often talk about? It's so big. Look, there's a wind blowing towards us. Zhu opened her eyes and looked around curiously. She blinked her eyes with great interest. Suddenly, she saw a gust of black wind blowing in her direction. Within the black wind, there was a foul stench that made people faint. It was a poisonous wind. Roar. When Du saw it, she looked at the poisonous wind with disdain. She raised her head and let out a proud cry. She flapped her wings, flapped and flapped her wings. Two violent hurricanes appeared and rushed towards the poisonous wind to blow. Wind. You're. When Zhu saw this, she smiled and narrowed her eyes. In a flash, she transformed into a vermilion divine bird the same size as the imperial phoenix bird. It was the vermilion bird true body. The fiery red feathers on its body exuded a noble charm. To Phoenix's vermilion phoenix was Phoenix. After transforming into her true form, Zhu flapped her wings and circled around the imperial phoenix bird, playing with Yu. The imperial phoenix bird was a savage beast. Savage beasts couldn't transform like the beast. No matter how strong they were, they had to maintain their beast form. However, legend had it that savage beasts that had reached the imperial realm were equivalent to the most powerful savage beasts in the world. They seemed to have the ability to transform. Unfortunately, no one could prove this speculation. Zhu and Yu were both girls and divine birds. From the first time they met, they seemed to be very close and hit it off. They often played together and were very familiar with each other. Furthermore, Zhu had the body of a vermilion bird, and her cultivation had reached the peak of the ancient demon king realm. She also possessed the bloodline of the 4 divine beasts. Her aptitude was so strong that it made one's hair stand on end. Shirtian, what should we do now? The All Heavens experts have obtained the Myriad Tribulations compass. I'm afraid they've already used it to rush to the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. Baihu's body naturally emitted a strange fragrance. She didn't make any movements, but she exuded an alluring charm. She looked at Shirtian and said with a smile, "Moreover, there are countless disasters in the Bedlam lands. It is said that many All Heavens cultivators died in the endless disasters when they reached the Bedlam land. Less than 10,000 of the 100,000 cultivators made it to the demon city." The ribbon wrapped around her arm danced in the wind. However, from her expression, it was clear that she had already raised her guard to the highest level. Most of her attention was focused on the surroundings. Don't worry. By the time they find the Myriad Tribulations cave abode, we'll already be there. Shirtian glanced at Tianxiang with a strange glint in his eyes. He smiled bitterly in his heart. It was already the second day after the Bedlam lands had appeared. The Bedlam lands would stay in the same place for a total of 3 days. After 3 days it would leave. For the sake of the Khanate spirit embryo, he naturally wouldn't miss it. At first, he planned to go to the Bedlam lands alone. However, he didn't expect that Baihu would want to go with him. With Baihu's current peak 6th transformation realm and ancient demon king realm cultivation, it was extremely dangerous for her to go to the Bedlam lands. However, after pondering for a moment, he couldn't find a reason to stop her. Who was he to stop her? Even Zhu, that little girl, was clamoring to come along. Forget it. If we really encounter danger that we can't resist, we'll just send them to the demon city through the gate of heaven. Shirtian smiled bitterly in his heart. He and the demon city were inseparable. When his Yuan spirit fused with it, it was like a natal treasure. At the last moment, he could cross the endless void and summon the demon city. Let's go. Let's go in together. You fly straight ahead. Shirtian shook his head and threw all these thoughts out of his mind. His eyes shone brightly as he scanned the surroundings. The ground of the Bedlam lands was a strange black color. Most of the land was barren. Terrifying lightning bolts, windstorms, chaotic blades, poisonous gas, and swamps appeared out of nowhere in the surroundings. This was only the edge of the Bedlam lands. The further they went, the more terrifying the disasters would be. No wonder it's said that even ancient giants could fall here. After Sakra finished scanning, he took a deep breath, and he couldn't help but feel apprehensive in his heart when he sensed the aura of disaster that was spread out in the air. He raised his vigilance to the maximum. Roar. Hearing the order, Du let out an excited cry. She flapped her wings and flew forward. Moreover, she nimbly avoided all the disasters along the way. Just as they were 10,000 miles into the Bedlam lands, suddenly, Sakra's mind trembled and he abruptly raised his head to look above his head. In the sky, a large, pitch-black net descended from the sky. It actually wanted to envelop all of them within the net, trapping them all in one go. Looking at the light emitted by the black net, it was obvious that this was no ordinary net. When it fell from the void, it didn't make any sound. It didn't reveal any aura. If it wasn't for his high vigilance, he would have only noticed it when the black net covered him. Around the black net, 4 black-clothed cultivators looked excitedly at Tion and the others under the net. Their faces were all covered by pitch-black ghost masks. The masks were sinister and terrifying, emitting a chilling aura as if they were laughing silently. Tisk tsk. Boss, we're in luck this time. We actually managed to get a few fat sheep. There's even a peerless demoness among them. Judging from her temperament, she's probably not inferior to the peerless heavenly girls in the Book of Beauties. If we bring her back for dual cultivation, we'll be as happy as a deity. Look, there's a vermilion bird. No, it's not a real vermilion bird. In her body, there's more than 2/3 of the vermilion bird bloodline. There's a chance that she can transform into a real vermilion bird. If we sell her, we'll be rich. That strange bird has the aura of a savage beast. Savage beasts have always been creatures in the sky-reaching tower. It's impossible to tame them. To be able to tame a savage beast as a mount, this strange bird is even more valuable than a vermilion bird. We're really rich now. We've robbed a few hundred people before, but they can't compare to these few. God-binding net, catch these fat sheep for me. The 4 black-clothed cultivators looked at Tion and Bai Hu with obvious greed in their eyes. Rob, rob, rob. It was obvious that the 4 of them were robbers and sneak-attacking from behind. Moreover, it seemed that he had done this kind of thing quite often and was already a habitual offender. This time, he actually set his target on Tion. It was no wonder. On the surface, Tion was just a great demon. With such strength, he could only be considered as the lowest class of cultivators here. In the eyes of the 4 black-clothed cultivators, he was simply a fat sheep that couldn't be any fatter. Their eyes were turning green. You want to rob me? Tian's eyes emitted a supreme majesty. His entire body became taller. He sneered, We still don't know who's going to rob who. You're courting death. Glancing at the 4 black-clothed cultivators, he found that they were all immortal emperor experts. The smell of blood exuding from their bodies showed that they weren't easy to deal with. Vermilion bird divine flame, burn this broken net to ashes for me. How dare you try to rob me? Zhu was so angry that her eyes turned red. She let out a long cry, flapped her wide wings, and soared into the sky. She opened her mouth and spat out a scarlet flame toward the god-binding net. The flame was so powerful that even the air was burned in an instant. It emitted a blazing wave of heat. Chi. Ha! It's useless. How can your impure vermilion bird divine flames do anything to our god-binding net that even the ancient giants couldn't destroy? You'd better obediently surrender. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. The black-clothed cultivators laughed maniacally. The vermilion bird divine flame couldn't be blocked by the strange black light that appeared on the net. It didn't cause any damage to the net. Roar. Right at this moment, the void suddenly began to tremble. 3 divine lights suddenly shot into the sky and spread out in a fan shape. one blue, one red, and one purple. They emitted a vast aura that landed on the god-binding net and brushed past it. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 647. Dazzling divine light illuminated the sky. The three beams of divine light brushed past one another. Wherever they passed, even the void trembled strangely. At the same time, the divine light receded, and the world returned to normal. It was as if what had just happened had never happened. At the same time, the huge god-binding net that had fallen from the sky mysteriously disappeared. Impossible! How could the god-binding net disappear? It's a treasure our leader obtained from the Godfall abyss. He gave it to us as a reward. It clearly has our soul imprints on it. How could it disappear? I can't even sense the god-binding net's existence. What was that divine light? Could it be the legendary heaven-defying divine ability, the five-colored divine light? No, there were only three divine lights. It can't be the five-colored divine light. It's a feather. It's that strange bird. The three feathers behind her back are the divine light from before. Red, blue, and purple. That's right, it's her. Her divine light has such terrifying power. Could it be the legendary king of beasts, the imperial phoenix bird? Our god-binding net has been swept away. Legend has it that the three divine feathers behind the imperial phoenix bird have the same mystical power as the five-colored divine light. They can sweep away anything in the world. As long as it's within the five elements, nothing can escape the binding of the divine light. The god-binding net must be in the divine feathers. Second brother, third brother, fourth brother. Let's capture them together. I don't believe they can overturn the sky. When the four black-clothed cultivators saw the god-binding net so easily taken away, they couldn't help but gasp. They looked at the imperial phoenix bird with disbelief. She had feathers on her wings, which were completely different from ordinary imperial phoenix birds. They couldn't tell her true identity at first glance. However, even though the god-binding net had been swept away, it didn't stop them from wanting to rob her. Trifling great demon. Today I'll skin you alive. Black light flashed out from the hand of one of the black-clad cultivators and a strange, pitch-black flag appeared in his hand. On the flag, there was an evil spirit with two strange horns on its head. It had 3 heads and 6 arms, a strange blade, a black mirror, a black tower, a black seal, a strange sword and a black iron chain. Its entire body was shrouded in a black fog, and it was releasing strange cries. He licked his lips from time to time, feeling an indescribable horror. It's the ghost deity Gonfalon. Underworld couldn't help but cry out in surprise when he saw it. Ghost deity, heed my command. Tear this little Yao apart. The black-clad cultivator shouted in a sinister voice. He waved the ghost deity Gonfalon in his hand. Immediately, waves of dense black gas gushed out from the Gonfalon. In the blink of an eye, it covered half of the sky. Within the black fog, a ghost god appeared. TSK, TSK. The ghost god, which was several hundred meters tall, let out a series of strange cries. Its eyes revealed a terrifying and ominous glint, and its face was extremely ugly, making it even more terrifying. With a wave of his hand, the black iron chain flew towards Chertion to bind him. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the chains were actually formed from numerous souls. Vivid faces began to appear on the surface one after another. You're courting death. Chertion's expression was cold as he stared at the ghost god. He waved his right hand, and the black lotus inside of him trembled as the power of the divine ability poured into his hand. Extreme King emblematic seal, demonic seal. Rumble! The demonic seal instantly formed in his hand. Vast amounts of demonic god energy filled the ancient seal. It flew into the air and grew with the wind. In the blink of an eye, it expanded violently. It turned into an ancient seal that was at least 10,000 feet tall. Countless figures of demonic gods appeared in the ancient seal. They roared at the sky, inhaling and exhaling boundless primordial chi. A vast amount of pressure pressed down on the ghost god almost instantly. It stirred the primordial chi of heaven and earth, as well as the desire of heaven and earth. The power of the ancient seal was truly overwhelming. Bam! The ancient seal vibrated, and the surrounding void shook violently. Suddenly, the ancient seal carried the domineering power of the demonic gods and directly pressed down on the gigantic ghost god. The ghost god raised its 6 arms, and all kinds of weapons in its hands crazily smashed at the ancient seal. It wanted to shatter the ancient seal, but the ancient seal contained the demonic god energy and crushed it into powder. Rumble! The ancient seal crushed the ghost god to death. Its body collapsed, but it did not dissipate. Instead, it rose from the ground again and pressed down on the black-clad cultivator. Countless mysterious patterns on the ancient seal flickered with profound Tao. "You bunch of shady fellows want to take I's life? How dare you rob my Tao? I will slap you to death with my seal. Immortal Emperor? Humph, how dare an immortal emperor be so presumptuous in front of me?" Di Shirtian's eyes shone brightly with cold fury. He pointed at the ancient seal. The ancient seal vibrated, and the aura and divine light it emitted became even more vast and rich. "This is the demonic god seal. Oh no, he's Demon Emperor Di Shirtian." The black-robed cultivator's voice changed involuntarily when he saw the astonishing power erupting from the ancient seal. The name of the demon emperor had an incomparable deterrent force. The incident in the demon world back then had given the All Heavens a great deal of deterrence. It also made Di Shirtian enter the eyes of all the major forces. "So what if you're a demon emperor? It's not that easy to kill me." Baleful black palm. The black-robed cultivator roared and formed a seal with his hands. Between heaven and earth, waves of baleful wind appeared out of nowhere. In an instant they condensed into a large, pitch-black handprint. Within the handprint there was a terrifying black, baleful chi. Around the palm, countless black, baleful winds appeared. The palm was accompanied by a chilly wind. It was as if the palm could devour the entire sky and create a huge hole. Bang! The baleful chi of the baleful black palm was extremely dense. It had unparalleled lethality. When it collided with the demonic god seal, the baleful winds and the demonic god seal intertwined violently. The surging airwaves caused the void to distort. However, the demonic god seal communicated with the power of desire and the power of the demonic god seal. It was unusually domineering. Although the baleful black palm was equally domineering, it had a soft and corrosive force. Moreover, the black-clad cultivator was an immortal emperor expert after all. After a violent collision, the ancient seal and the palm were destroyed at the same time. Humph! Di Shirtian saw this and placed his hand on the tiger soul. He twisted his wrist. Clang! The tiger soul was unsheathed. The blade rippled with waves of golden saber light. With a casual swing of the saber, a strange saber mark was drawn in the void. The saber shadow was still in midair, but the saber had already appeared above the cultivator's head. The cold blade emitted boundless sharpness. Almost in an instant, the cultivator felt a thick aura of death shrouding his mind. A strong premonition of danger drowned him like a tide. He was incomparably shocked. Under the tiger soul, he didn't even have the chance to dodge. He only felt that he would be easily cut in half if the saber fell on him. "I'm one of the black demons. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the black demons won't let you go." Crack! Di Shirtian's expression was cold. He didn't care about the man's shouts at all. The saber light was like a drill. In an instant, the man's head was cut in half. Moreover, the man's divine soul was also cut in half. Run! When the remaining 3 cultivators in black saw that an immortal emperor was so easily killed by Di Shirtian, their expressions changed drastically. How could they still treat him as an ordinary great demon? He had cultivated half an immortal body, and his physical body had transformed into a treasure body. In addition, he had cultivated a peerless book like the Imperial Book of Shocking the World. His combat strength was not something that could be measured by his realm. The tiger soul was an earth-rank demon weapon. Its sharpness was so strong that it could even cut an immortal body in half. Blocking the tiger soul was equivalent to courting death. How could they dare to stay? They turned around and fled. They didn't have the slightest bit of shame to speak of. Survival was the most important thing. Howl! Let out a high-pitched cry. The 3 divine feathers on her back fluttered again. 3 divine lights shot into the sky, completely sealing off the space within a radius of 1,000 feet. At the same time, a snow-white tail suddenly emerged from Baihu's back. It swayed slightly in the void, emitting bursts of white light. The surrounding scene suddenly changed into a vast grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. The 9-tailed celestial fox's innate ability, illusion. In an instant, the 3 cultivators were swept into the illusion. In the illusion, the 3 cultivators' expressions changed drastically. They exclaimed, "Celestial fox! It's a 9-tailed celestial fox!" Crack! The tiger soul swept out. The dazzling saber light carried a kind of emperor's aura that deterred all living things. Under the saber light, the 3 cultivators couldn't even think of dodging. They could only watch in horror as the tiger's soul slashed at them with lightning speed. They could faintly see the fish-bone-like saber patterns on the saber. Ha ha! Suddenly, one of the cultivators in black laughed maniacally. "Shirtion, so what if you're a demon emperor? I'm from the Black Fiend. If you kill us, from now on, the Black Fiend will not rest until one of us is dead. Even if you're a demon emperor, you still have to die. No one has ever been able to survive after provoking the Black Fiend. Not even an ancient powerhouse. We'll be waiting for you in the underworld." Bang! 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 3 terrifying explosions sounded. The 3 cultivators in black seemed to have realized that they couldn't escape death. They laughed maniacally and reversed their cultivation technique. Their bodies exploded with a loud bang. They actually self-destructed. In the midst of the self-explosion, the power of destruction erupted and instantly blasted open the illusion. The terrifying power rapidly swept towards Sakura and the others. However, Yu was incomparably clever. She had seen it earlier and instantly took a step forward. Instantly, she rushed out with her fastest speed and just avoided the aftermath of the self-explosion. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, she didn't expect that 3 blood-red lights would strangely break through the air and rush toward Shirtion. They were as fast as lightning. It was as if they were invisible and intangible. They contained a strange aura. Humph! When Shirtion saw it, a treasure light burst out from his body. He was like an ancient emperor. He slapped the 3 blood-red lights with his palm. However, the strange thing was that the 3 blood-red lights seemed to be intangible. They passed through his palm and landed on his body. Even his treasure body couldn't stop them. They immediately merged with his body. It's a curse. It's a spell. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 648. Summon all kinds of tickets. Brothers, help to hold them up. Haha, it's so funny. In the end, they turned all the life force in their bodies into these 3 curses. It's really funny. If they knew that you cultivated the power of desire, the 7 emotions and 6 desires are the source of all curses in heaven and earth, the source of all evil, you would be the most suitable person to cultivate curses. Any curse will not only not harm you, but will also benefit you. After the scream, Dark couldn't help but laugh crazily. His whole body lay on the ground, and his 2 dragon claws kept patting the ground. He laughed so hard that his belly almost turned to the sky. They turned most of their essence, life force, primordial spirit, and cultivation into the power of curses to harm you. If you subdue these 3 curses, not only will you get 3 new curses, but you will also be able to plunder the huge essence contained in the curses without any hidden dangers. This is equivalent to half of the power of 3 emperor-level cultivators. Even though the cultivation of those 4 fellows isn't very stable, it's likely that they've used medicinal pills and all kinds of natural treasures to increase their cultivation. Even though they have the strength of a martial emperor, they don't have the cultivation realm or battle prowess of a martial emperor. Absorbing the 3 curses is equivalent to absorbing most of the cultivation strength of the 3 immortal emperors. After refining them, it will be enough to increase your cultivation strength again. This is a benefit delivered to your door. Ha! The more powerful Indra was, the more Nether had almost completely fused with the heavenly punishment divine eye, and the more powerful it was to manage Nether prison. When one fell, all fell, and when one rose, all rose. Now that a pie had fallen from the sky, there was no reason for it not to be happy. Humph! Using curses to deal with me is simply blinding. Tion couldn't help but sneer after seeing the 3 blood-red lights. He let them enter his body without any hindrance. He wanted to personally experience what these 3 curses were. More than half of the curses in heaven and earth began to be lost after the ancient times. As for the rest, even if they knew, they didn't know the specific cultivation method, so they were afraid of them like snakes and scorpions. There were thousands of types of curses. There were almost too many to count. However, Tion had obtained 10 of the most wonderful curses. It turned into a curse seal and imprinted itself on the grade 8 Black Lotus. Afterwards, you will collect a soul-devouring curse seal. There were a total of 11 types of curse techniques in his body. 11 runes. Every single one of them could be said to be bizarre. It was also one of Tion's hidden trump cards. Now, since 3 curses had entered his body on their own accord, it was as good as walking right into a trap. He didn't say anything else. He closed his eyes and focused, trying to figure out what the 3 curses that had entered his body were. After one of the blood-red lights entered his body, it turned into a strange power and rushed into his bones. Once it came into contact with his bones, it easily fused into them. At the same time, a terrifying pain came from his bones, as if ants were continuously gnawing on his bone marrow. The indestructible bones, which were originally so hard that even divine weapons couldn't damage them, actually started to soften. It was as if countless ants were nibbling on them. Devour. That kind of pain was truly frightening. It was unstoppable. It can corrode the bones. Even the indestructible bones can't avoid it. This curse technique should be the Tarsus bone that even the ancient giants were afraid of. Once it comes into contact with the bones, it will be difficult to get rid of it. Even the indestructible body will be destroyed. It's an extremely terrifying curse technique. Even the ancient giants would have a headache if they were hit by it. Ming saw the changes in Tion's body and couldn't help but ponder and say. With his rich experience, he sensed the root of the curse. Tion, your body? Suddenly, Bai Hu's exclamation sounded in his ears. In her eyes there was horror. She saw that Tion's body was suddenly covered in a layer of grayish white. Starting from his feet, it strangely solidified and turned into a cold stone. It was actually spreading to his body. In the blink of an eye, it covered every inch of his skin. This is the petrification curse. Once you're hit by this curse technique, it's like being hit by Medusa's staring eye. His entire body would turn into an ice-cold stone in an instant. Even your consciousness and soul will be completely petrified. What kind of power is this black fiend? They actually know this kind of curse. Ming also exclaimed in surprise. He clicked his tongue inside. He also looked forward to the third curse. The third ray of blood light turned into a curse and entered his body, immediately rushing towards his eyes. In the blink of an eye, Tion felt that his eyes were covered in a layer of strange black fog. His eyes couldn't see anything clearly anymore. His eyes were actually blind. Curse heaven blind. After being hit by this curse technique, one's eyes will lose their light and no longer see any color. It's as if one was born blind. It's difficult to save them. Ming laughed strangely and said, I didn't expect it to be these 3 curses. The 7 emotions and 6 desires belong to me. The original sins of heaven and earth are under my control. Curses originate from desire. Desire gives birth to evil, and evil gives birth to evil power. Thousands of curses, why don't you return to I? Tion first let the 3 curses generate power and carefully felt the strange power contained in them. After understanding, he immediately shouted. The rank 8 black lotus in his body glowed with strange divine light and burst out with a strong devouring power that covered his entire body. Under the divine light of the black lotus, on the spot, in his flesh, in his bones, and in his eyes, strands of black light were constantly extracted and stripped out. Return to the origin, condense the curse seal. Return to my body. Tion cultivated the Emperor's way and the power of desire. Desire itself was the source of all evil in heaven and earth. The Emperor's shocking book was simply the most suitable cultivation method to cultivate curse techniques in this world. The rank 8 black lotus that was condensed was the source of all evil. No matter how powerful the curse technique was, it couldn't affect the source of all evil. Casting a curse technique on him was like sending water into the sea. The black lotus was the source of the power of curses. Under the awe of the black lotus, countless strands of black gas were constantly extracted from his body. His bones returned to normal, his petrified body quickly recovered, and his blind eyes regained their light. All the black gas was directly absorbed into the demon mansion and circled above the rank 8 black lotus. As the black lotus spun, all the strands of black gas intertwined and intertwined. It began to condense in a mysterious way. Intertwined with Tao and truth, it absorbed the undying obsession in the sea of desire between heaven and earth. It merged together. Swish, swish, swish. 3 pitch-black curse seals condensed and formed almost at the same time. Each of them didn't have a fixed shape at all. It was as if they were constantly changing and contained a strange power. They were absorbing the endless power of desire between heaven and earth. With a swish, they turned into 3 streaks of black light and rushed into the black lotus. Suddenly, on the surface of the black lotus, there were 3 more mysterious curse seals. Each curse seal contained the most strange power in the world. In the past, there were 10 in the beginning. In addition to the one he obtained later, there were 3 more now. Now, in total, Tion had mastered a total of 14 curse techniques. Each seal was completely different from the others, and each contained a miraculous power. They were soul-devouring, withering glory, tarsal bone, heavenly blindness, petrification, decay, slow blood collapse, gold transformation, divine injury, ice, heaven lock, God binding, and heavenly ugliness. 1 type, 14 types, and all of them were full of strange power. If they were used, it was enough to make countless strong people in the world change their expressions. They would be terrified. However, Tion rarely used them. These curse techniques, at the critical moment, could reverse the situation and could be called an extremely powerful trump card. As an emperor, his trump cards must not be known to others. The more trump cards he had, the better. The more difficult it was for others to figure out, the more it could make others full of fear. Moreover, when Tion used the curse technique, it was even more tyrannical than the others. It was almost difficult to crack. When the 3 curse seals were imprinted on the level 8 black lotus, 3 huge waves of supernatural power gushed out and poured into the black lotus. Since breaking through to the monster core 8 transformation realm, the black lotus in his body had also reached the level 8. Among them, the previous level 7 had been completely integrated and merged together. The 7 kinds of power of desire were continuously transformed into the purest Huangji true power. However, after breaking through and being refined, the amount of Huangji true power in the Black Lotus suddenly decreased. The consequence of condensing was that the Huangji true power was only half of the original. However, it was even more powerful. Every wisp had unparalleled power. Moreover, the space in the level 8 Black Lotus expanded more than 10 times in an instant. The original Huangji true power could only occupy less than 1/10 of the Black Lotus. The Black Lotus could be said to be extremely empty. Even if the level 8 Black Lotus was constantly rotating, absorbing the surrounding yuan qi of heaven and earth and the power of desire, constantly condensing into liquid true power and merging into it. However, compared to the current level 8 Black Lotus, it was simply a drop in the bucket. At this moment, 3 waves of essence qi, which contained more than half of the 3 celestial lords' supernatural power, poured into it. It was like sending charcoal in the snow. There was no reason not to accept it. Demon refining cauldron, refine all the supernatural power for I and transform it into Huangji true power. Di Shirtian did not hold back. Although every time he underwent a tribulation, it was 100 times or even 1,000 times more dangerous than ordinary cultivators, after overcoming it, his own realm would reach an unbelievable level. In the next realm, he would not have to worry about his state of mind and could continuously increase his power. Reaching the peak. Now, the 3 members of the Black Demons wanted to trick him, but they did not expect to be a big fat piece of meat sent to his doorstep. It was a great opportunity to increase his cultivation. A great opportunity sent to his doorstep. However, he would not casually integrate these supernatural powers into his own Huangji true power. Instead, he sent them into the demon refining cauldron. With the power of the demon refining cauldron, the impurities in the 3 waves of supernatural powers were all purified. Otherwise, if he directly integrated them, although his power would instantly increase, the impurities in the supernatural powers would also affect the purity of his own true power. The gains would not make up for the losses. Boom! Boom! The demon refining cauldron operated at full power, refining the 3 waves of supernatural powers. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 649. Huff. After a long while, he exhaled deeply and slowly opened his eyes. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes. His cultivation base had improved greatly. He muttered to himself, sure enough, the higher the level of cultivation, the more it takes thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years of accumulation to advance. The dermic powers of the 3 celestial emperors only increased my true force by 3/10. Together with my original true force, it only increased 2/5 of the Black Lotus. The dermic powers of ordinary cultivators are too different from my Huangji true force. 3 celestial emperors. TSK. If he gave this huge amount of dermic powers to others, it wouldn't take long to create 3 celestial emperors. However, after being refined by the demon refining cauldron, the huge amount of dermic powers in his body was severely reduced. After refining countless impurities and converting them into Huangji true force, his true force only increased his true force by 3-fold. He was a great demon, and the dermic powers of 3 celestial emperors were less than 1/3 of his monster core 8 transformation stage strength. If he said it out loud, heaven and earth would be shocked. The quality of the Huangji true force cultivated by the Huangji World Shocking Book was unbelievably high. To be able to increase such a huge amount of true force in such a short period of time was a rare thing. Hee. Lunatic D, you should be content with what you have. Those 3 fellows' dermic powers are incomparably heterogeneous. It's obvious that they didn't come from the right path. Although they seem to be immortal emperors, their combat strength might not be. They're probably just immortal lords. If you didn't have the demon refining cauldron, I wouldn't have let you absorb their dermic powers. Just a little bit, a little bit. Dark said with a strange voice. Indeed, no matter what, it was a rare thing to be able to increase one's cultivation base. Getting 3 curse seals is already a great benefit. Tion naturally wouldn't let these things affect his will and mind. He looked around and waved his hand to grab the ghost deity banner that had fallen on the ground. There were also 4 storage rings. He quickly scanned through the rings with his divine sense. Sure enough, they specialize in robbing people. A large number of items were stored in the ring. However, it could be seen that the items were quite miscellaneous. They were definitely not collected by themselves. They were simply intercepted by robbers. Using immortal emperors as subordinates? I'm afraid this black fiend isn't simple. A thought flashed through Tion's mind, and he muttered, however, it's fine if they don't provoke me, but if they really provoke me, I won't hesitate to kill them even if they are the emperor. He paused for a moment and continued, let's go. We shouldn't waste any more time here. The sooner we get to the myriad tribulation cave abode, the better. After saying that, he gave Yu-Er an order. Immediately, Yu-Er's spirits were lifted. He excitedly flapped his wings, leaving behind 3 streaks of divine light in the sky as he flew forward. Look, that's 1,000 illusion violet orchid. Legend has it that it was an extremely domineering poisonous grass. Its appearance was incomparably gorgeous and extremely beautiful. However, if one were to consume it rashly, even an immortal would be poisoned to death. TSK, this is a high-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. Qilin tree, a Qilin tree that can bear Qilin fruit. Legend has it that only the place where a Qilin fell has a 1 in 10,000 chance of nurturing such a Qilin tree. It's a high-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. Violet sunflower, a wondrous flower that absorbs the first wisp of violet chi that rises from heaven and earth. A low-grade earth-rank spiritual essence. In the land of chaos there were disasters everywhere. The border was fine, but the deeper one went, the more oppressive it felt. However, at the same time of danger, there were incomparably precious spiritual essences of heaven and earth. Normally, they wouldn't even be able to see them, but now and then they would see them. Moreover, most of them were supreme treasures that couldn't even be planted in the 100-herb garden. As long as they encountered them, they would take them without hesitation. When they returned to the 1,000-demon city, they would let Bai Susu plant and cultivate them. Naturally, they would be able to grow and multiply, while Tion's group was plundering along the way. In the land of chaos, a pair of huge eyes seemed to have sensed something and swept towards Tion's direction. When it saw them, a fierce light flashed in its eyes, and it seemed to lick its lips in reminiscence. Around him, a large number of white bones covered the ground. However, in the blink of an eye, the pair of eyes gradually disappeared, as if it was hiding somewhere. These outsiders are so delicious. The essence of their flesh is so rich. Eating them can make me stronger. After so many years, I can finally eat to my heart's content. A formless thought reverberated in the void. Every time this happens, it's time for us to eat. The flesh of the outsiders can make us stronger. Tion, who was constantly plundering the various spiritual essences along the way, suddenly felt his mind contracting violently. He couldn't help but look up. However, he didn't find anything. Frowning slightly, he said, "Everyone, be careful. Just now, something seemed to be spying on us. We are gradually entering the depths of the land of chaos. The power of disaster is getting more and more violent. It's terrifying." Yeah. Hearing this, the white fox nodded with a smile. She was a 9-tailed celestial fox. Every time she broke through a cycle, she would gain another tail. Once she reached the 9th cycle, she would have 9 tails. She would have 9 innate abilities. Her strength would reach an unimaginable level. His eyes turned slightly as he said, "After hearing what you said, I also felt that someone was spying on us in the dark just now. It's said that the boundless power of disaster in the land of chaos breeds many terrifying beasts. Hidden in all kinds of disasters, it's quite terrifying. How could a beast that could survive in such a dangerous place be an ordinary beast?" Along the way, disasters kept coming. However, Tion had many tricks up his sleeves, and he managed to fend off all the disasters. Under Ming's guidance, they took a shortcut to the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. For 3 full days they advanced step by step. Finally, they entered the depths of the land of chaos. This place is... When Tion saw the scene before him, his pupils constricted. Even with his temperament, he couldn't help but be shocked. Could this be one of the scariest places in the land of chaos, the Chaos Lightning Dominion? Bai Hu couldn't help but exclaim. The Chaos Lightning Dominion was one of the scariest places in the land of chaos. There seemed to be no end to this place. It was filled with countless bolts of lightning. All kinds of divine lightning could be seen here. Overall, they were multicolored and looked incomparably gorgeous. They formed a world of their own. There were 5 types of divine lightning: ordinary divine lightning, Yin lightning, astral lightning, poison lightning, annihilation lightning, demon's lair lightning, immortal slaying lightning, 9 firmaments lightning, violet firmaments lightning, and so on. Furthermore, the deeper one went, the stronger the lightning became. It was said that in the depths of the Chaos Lightning Dominion, annihilation, and chaos lightning were the most terrifying of all. Yin-yang lightning, and so on. This is a land of treasures. An idea flashed in Sakra's mind as his eyes flickered with wisdom. He swept his gaze across the lightning region and said in a low voice, "The lightning here contains a destructive force, but it also contains a strange power of creation. The lightning here seems to be endless, there's no end to it. If I were to summon the demon city and send it into the Chaos Lightning Dominion, I'd be able to refine the lightning. If he used the power of lightning to refine the ancient city, he might be able to upgrade the divine crystals forged in the ancient city from mid to high quality. This is a great opportunity for us to improve." Using lightning to refine the city was definitely a good idea. Divine crystals could absorb all kinds of vital energy. Even lightning was no exception. The stronger the lightning, the better the tempering effect. Not to mention, the divine restrictions in the city could also absorb lightning and grow stronger. Once they absorbed a large amount of lightning energy here, their power would definitely increase. This is a good place. It's not bad to use it to refine the city. It can also absorb lightning energy for the lightning congregating towers. There are a lot of heavenly lightning stones here. If we collect them, we can build a large number of lightning congregating towers. Ming glanced around a few times before she nodded and agreed. Let's go. Let's go in and find a good spot. Then, we'll summon the demon city. Sakra's and Yu-Er's minds were almost connected, and Yu-Er understood the moment he changed his mind. With a cry, she flapped her wings and flew into the lightning region. Her body flashed, and 3 rays of divine light formed a barrier. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he entered the lightning dominion, the originally chaotic lightning dominion was like a ladle of cold water being poured into boiling oil. It immediately boiled and went berserk. Thick thunderbolts crazily bombarded them from all directions. It was colorful. There was a deadly threat in the beauty. Bang, bang, bang. However, the Emperor Phoenix was the king of the savage beasts. Now Yu-Er, who was much stronger, was even more powerful. The 3 divine feathers on her back fluttered back and forth, brushing away the thousands of lightning bolts that were attacking them. The lightning at the edge of the lightning dominion was the first level. As long as one was a demon king, one could enter with their Dharma treasure and body. If one went deeper, it would be the second level, which required a greater demon. However, if one went further, it would be the third level, which required one to be a demon saint. The fourth level was difficult for those who were not heaven demons to resist. If one barged in rashly, they would be blasted into pieces by the lightning bolt. As for the fifth level, which was the last level, it was said that even if a peerless expert entered, it would be extremely dangerous. However, they were only at the edge, so it was naturally not a threat to them. They easily destroyed the thousands of lightning bolt. Boom! Suddenly, in the depths of the lightning dominion, a huge purple dragon claw swiped at Tion and the others. The dragon claw was covered with fine purple dragon scales. Countless strange lightning bolts flickered on the dragon claw. This claw was like the judgment of heaven and earth. Under the dragon claw, the void froze. Immemorial thunder dragon? Ming's eyes widened when he saw the huge dragon claw. He exclaimed in shock, "There really is an immemorial thunder dragon here." To be continued. If you want to know the rest, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 650. Who would have thought that a primordial beast like the primordial thunder dragon would be born in the chaos lightning field? Lunatic D, retreat quickly. This is a primordial thunder dragon. With your cultivation base, you won't be able to stop it in the lightning field. Even an ancient powerhouse wouldn't be able to do anything to it. Dark's expression changed in an instant. After seeing the origin of the dragon claw, he didn't hesitate to advise Tion to leave the lightning field immediately. This was the first time Dark had ever retreated without a fight. In the past, no matter how dangerous it was, he had never advised him to flee without a fight. It's too late. No matter how strong this primordial thunder dragon is, I won't flee without a fight. Tion looked at the purple dragon claw descending from the sky. Within the dragon claw, his mind was shrouded in a murderous aura of death. The vast draconic aura was thousands of times stronger than any other dragon he had seen before. Just the draconic aura alone was enough to make one unable to resist and want to be captured without a fight. An irresistible force instantly locked down the entire space below, even solidifying it. Under such a vast power, he didn't even have the strength to move a finger. Dominating heart, 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 dominating heart. In his mind, the scripture of the extreme Emperor Tyrant Heart Manual flowed like a spring. In an instant, a dense Emperor Chi burst out of his body, and the extreme Emperor mask appeared on his face. The strength of his body naturally rose to a whole new level. From the 8 cycles of Yaodan to the 9 cycles of Yaodan. A vast amount of true energy surged through his Yaodan veins like a surging river, flowing madly into every inch of his flesh and blood. Rumble! Tion's body shook. His own overbearing true power, combined with the Emperor's chi, shook the originally confined space, and caused the surrounding space to violently distort all of a sudden. Extreme Emperor Dao, death of gods and devils. Extreme Emperor Seal, Taotai Seal. Clang! The tiger soul was unsheathed and the violent imperial true force was poured into the blade. At the same time, the divine devil talisman also burst forth with a pure divine power and poured into the blade. 3,000 divine devils directly rushed out from the blade and crazily devoured the heaven and earth vital energy. They emitted an endless sense of death that filled the air, causing the air to emit a sorrowful feeling. He couldn't help but weep. The 3,000 demon gods swallowed the boundless essence and returned it to the saber. Then, all the energy merged together. Immediately, the saber light on the tiger's soul turned ancient and deep. The saber slashed towards the purple dragon claw as if it could split the heavens and earth apart. Clang! Once the fiend god morning was unleashed, the power contained within the tiger soul was comparable to that of a heavenly demon. This blade could be said to be a peak blade. Coupled with the unparalleled sharpness of the Tiger Soul's Earth-rank demon weapon, it simply had a tyrannical power that could split the heavens and earth. However, the purple dragon claw was so hard that it was indestructible. When they collided, the sound of metal colliding with stone could be heard. The force that erupted caused the surrounding void to be annihilated inch by inch. Tens of thousands of thunderbolts fiercely surged towards Sakura like hundreds of millions of wild serpents. At the point where the Tiger Soul and Dragon Claw met, streaks of purple lightning strangely followed the blade and headed towards his arm, and even his body, crazily devouring him. Roar! At this moment, an ancient seal condensed in his left hand. The ancient seal was incomparably dark, as if a terrifying black hole had split open in an instant. In an instant, it swallowed the hundreds of millions of lightning bolts. Following the momentum, it struck the dragon claw. Bang! The terrifying roar immediately suppressed the sound of thunder in the surroundings. The ancient seal was destroyed, but at the same time, the purple dragon claw was forcefully knocked back by the vast power contained within the ancient seal. It completely destroyed the tyrannical power hidden within the dragon claw. Chi-Chi was unable to withstand the terrifying power, and her body was forcefully smashed back hundreds of feet. When the purple lightning landed on Shirtian's body, countless terrifying wounds appeared on his body, which had been tempered to the point of invulnerability. Even the precious body could not withstand it. However, the moment the wounds opened, they immediately healed at a speed visible to the naked eye with the tyrannical recovery ability of the demon body. In the blink of an eye, he was back to normal. Crazy D, the primordial thunder dragon, is incomparably ferocious and only exists in legends. I never thought that it would be born here. Quickly retreat. Its power is too strong, and it is far from what you can contend with now. Where there is life, there is hope. When Ming saw that Shirtian had suffered such a great loss in just one exchange, and that even the god and devil child could not hurt the primordial thunder dragon, how could he not know how terrifying this fellow was? He roared repeatedly. His eyes widened. This was an primordial ferocious beast that could not be defeated. Roar! At this moment, the dragon claw in the air retracted. Suddenly, the countless lightning bolts in the surroundings fell into a strange silence, as if they were worshipping some kind of king. A domineering dragon roar spread out in an instant, causing the countless lightning bolts to vibrate and disperse on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. Looking at the void, a terrifying purple figure appeared in the lightning territory. Dragon! It was a huge purple dragon that was no less than 6,000 meters long. It had a total of 9 claws under its body. The dragon horns on its head were natural, and its body was covered in fine dragon scales that looked like amethyst. They gave off countless bolts of purple lightning as they shuttled around its body. At first glance, there was a kind of soul-stirring ferocious aura. Its huge dragon eyes revealed a cold and fierce light. It was filled with a strong desire. Shirtian could see that it was a kind of desire for food. It was a gaze that would only appear when looking at delicious food. This primordial thunder dragon obviously regarded them as the most delicious food on the spot. Not good, this is bad. The entire lightning territory has been sealed by this primordial thunder dragon. Being in the lightning territory is equivalent to being in his domain. Lunatic D, quickly see if you can summon the Demon City. If you can, with the help of the Demon City, we might be able to fight it. Otherwise, we will really be buried in the dragon's stomach today. Dark keenly felt that the moment the primordial thunder dragon appeared, the entire lightning territory seemed to have turned into a cage, an independent world. In this world, the primordial thunder dragon was like a supreme god, like a fish in water. The power that erupted was absolutely terrifying to the extreme. Humph! Shirtian's eyes flashed with the light of wisdom. Seeing the naked desire in the primordial thunder dragon's eyes, he said coldly, "No matter how strong it is it is just a ferocious beast. I may have the means to suppress it. Virtual illusory land, boundless desire, belong to me. Swish! Chertion roared, and an unusual calmness appeared on his face. Seeing the ferocious desire in the primordial thunder dragon's eyes, an idea that could turn the situation around immediately appeared in his mind. Without hesitation, with a thought, a gorgeous divine light burst out from his body. Within the divine light, a scroll hung behind him. It quickly unfolded. The unfurled scroll transformed into a gorgeous painting. In the picture scroll, all kinds of fantasy colors were constantly intertwined, flashing back and forth, forming countless mysterious pictures and sceneries. It was as if there was a boundless truth contained in it. As soon as the picture scroll appeared, it immediately emitted bursts of magical light. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it rapidly grew bigger. In almost the blink of an eye, it had grown to the extent that it could cover heaven and earth. It hung in front of Chertion and the others. The colors in the picture scroll were dazzling. After Bai Hu and Zhu saw it, their eyes couldn't help but become absent-minded, as if their entire minds were about to be pulled into the picture scroll. Virtual illusory land. The picture scroll condensed by Chertion's domain. It could target the desires in the other's heart, evolve all kinds of illusions, and pull them in. As long as they couldn't see through the illusions, there was no way to make up for the flaws in their hearts, and there was no way to get rid of the desires in their hearts. They would sink forever. Now Chertion had reached the 8th transformation of the Yaodan, and he had mastered 8 kinds of desires: sorrow, joy, anger, hearing, seeing, taste, fragrance, and touch. These 8 kinds of desires were integrated into the virtual illusory land. As long as one couldn't get rid of these 8 kinds of desires, it would be difficult for them to escape. Countless illusions could be evolved according to their desires. Delicacies, food, they're all mine. Almost instantly, the picture scroll that covered heaven and earth appeared in front of the primordial thunder dragon. In an instant, the thunder dragon only felt that in front of it there were countless kinds of creatures, humans, demons, beasts, and so on. All kinds of creatures exuded tempting scents. In an instant, the desire in its heart was magnified 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Its eyes and mind were filled with those tempting and delicious things. Its pair of eyes were shrouded in a layer of diffuse colors. "They're all mine." The primordial thunder dragon roared and immediately gave up on Chertion, and directly pounced on the countless delicacies in front of it. Roar! With an excited dragon roar, the primordial thunder dragon waved its dragon body. Its huge body instantly touched the virtual illusory land, and strangely, the surface of the virtual illusory land rippled like water waves. It was as if there was another world behind it. The whole dragon body shuttled in and strangely disappeared. Ha ha! Delicacies, food, they're all mine. Delicious. Chertion waved his hand, and the virtual illusory land in midair began to shrink in the blink of an eye, and appeared in front of him. Looking at the scene in the picture scroll, the primordial thunder dragon suddenly appeared. It stretched out its dragon claws, laughed wildly, and grabbed one creature after another, and sent it into its mouth, chewing with big mouthfuls. Blood flowed everywhere. It looked like it was filled with the terrible smell of blood. Its eyes were filled with madness, and it ate and swallowed the endless things in front of it. Its eyes were filled with strange colors. It didn't realize that it was already in the virtual illusory land. Chapter 651. Haha, there's another hall leader today. Thank you for the tip. Maybe there will be another alliance leader by the end of this book. Thank you. You captured the primordial thunder dragon into the virtual land of illusions. Ming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he witnessed this scene. He was stunned and said, "Unbelievable, this is really unbelievable. This is a primordial thunder dragon, a primordial ferocious beast that even the venerables of the ancient overlords couldn't do anything to. You actually forcefully imprisoned it like this. Hee, brother-in-law, is this the virtual land of illusions that you've condensed? It's really amazing. Humph, let's see if that thunder dragon still dares to be fierce to us. This time, it has to drink brother-in-law's foot-washing water. Brother-in-law's power of desire is really invincible. Unparalleled. In the future, as long as you don't like anyone, you can directly throw them into the virtual land of illusions. It'll definitely be interesting. Zhu excitedly looked at the primordial thunder dragon, who was immersed in its own desires in the virtual land of illusions and only knew how to devour all kinds of living creatures, and shouted excitedly, "Virtual land of illusions? As long as the heart has desires, as long as it's not the great indifference, even immortals can't escape the shackles of desire. It just depends on whose will is stronger and who is weaker. It's indeed the most terrifying power in the world. The power of desire is Shirtian's real trump card." Bai Hu glanced at the virtual land of illusions and then looked at Di Shirtian, various thoughts flashing through her mind. Humph, this primordial thunder dragon's power is indeed extremely tyrannical. Even if I use the eyes of heaven's punishment, I may not be able to gain an advantage over it. It's even more tyrannical than the ancient giant. However, its brain doesn't seem to be very bright. Its ferocity is filled with thoughts, and its actions are mostly driven by instinct. If it were someone else, perhaps even a venerable would not be able to hurt it in this thunder region. However, it still has a desire, and as long as it has a desire, it will not be able to escape from the shackles of my virtual land. Sakra looked at the primordial thunder dragon that was bound in the virtual illusion and shook his head inwardly. With just one exchange of blows, he could roughly see the truth. Although it was a ferocious beast, its ferocity was greater than its rationality. Its eyes were filled with the desire for food. These were desires. Using the virtual illusion to deal with it was simply the most perfect means. It wasn't that the lightning dragon didn't have any intelligence, but it was only equivalent to an 11 or 12-year-old child. Even more so, it was corroded by the ferocious nature. Although he was strong, once he was immersed in the illusion, it was almost impossible to escape. Tisk tsk. Why didn't I think that you had such a trump card? Ming's eyes gradually brightened, and the panic from before vanished as she shouted, "However, even though we've trapped it within an illusion, it's still extremely difficult for you to suppress or subdue it. This guy was an ancient ferocious beast. One of the ancient 9 dragons. They were ferocious beasts born from heaven and earth. It's too difficult to subdue it. However, let's first trap it in the illusion to wear down its ferocity. Maybe we'll have a chance." Nether shook her head and mumbled. "What's the primordial 9 dragons?" Di Shirtian asked curiously. The primordial 9 dragons. They were very famous in ancient times." Ming cried out while a wisp of astonishment appeared in her eyes. She said, "All formidable living beings in the world are born from the heavens and the earth. They're born from the heavens and the earth, and they're usually extremely formidable as soon as they're born. They don't have parents, so they're called primeval ferocious beasts. The more powerful a creature is, the harder it is for it to have intelligence. Born from the evil chi of heaven and earth, they are born with a terrifying ferocious nature. Their ferocity overrides their rationality. Although they have intelligence, most of it is covered by their ferocity. Moreover, every ferocious beast has an extremely strong sense of territory. Anyone who enters their territory is an enemy. Their combat strength is extremely terrifying, and their fighting instincts are almost at the top of all living creatures. The reason why ferocious beasts were called ferocious beasts was that their ferocious nature had already become their instinct. Usually, wherever they went, blood would flow into rivers and corpses would be everywhere. It was unbearable to watch. Among the ferocious beasts, the primordial 9 dragons born from heaven and earth can be said to be the top existence among the ferocious beasts. They are the kings of the ferocious beast. Ming continued with some recollection. Among them are the primordial thunder dragon, primordial flame dragon, primordial ice dragon, primordial wind dragon, primordial yellow dragon, primordial golden dragon, primordial poison dragon, primordial sea dragon, and primordial blood dragon. Each of them is extremely powerful. It is said that if they can suppress their ferocious nature and possess true intelligence, they will be the ancestors of the dragon clan. They will stand at the top of the world. You should have experienced the strength of the primordial thunder dragon just now. It is even more powerful than the ancient giant. Only a place filled with lightning like the lightning territory can give birth to a powerful ferocious beast like the primordial thunder dragon. TSK. Legend has it that the demon lord once built a carriage and personally captured the primordial 9 dragons to pull the carriage. It can be said to be the only one in the world. Wherever it passed, the gods were easily defeated. Ming said with a nostalgic tone. Di Shirtian's eyes flickered. He seemed to be touched. With a thought, the virtual illusory land in front of him instantly entered his body. It disappeared. At the same time, his divine thought communicated with the void and shouted, "Demon City, descend! Rumble!" A terrifying pitch-black crack instantly appeared in the void. The entire lightning domain trembled violently, and in an instant, countless crystalline divine lights radiated in all directions as a vast pressure pressed down on the heavens. A vast ancient city seemed to have sensed the summons of Sakra and forcibly traversed through the void, descending upon the lightning domain. Where is this? My God, it's all lightning outside. 5 elements lightning, 9 heavens astral lightning, purple heavens lightning. Could we be in a lightning region? We were still in the boundless void just a moment ago. How did we end up here in the blink of an eye? Can this myriad demon city withstand the lightning outside? If it can't, will we really be buried here? If we get sucked in, not even our bones will be left behind. Obviously, the concerns of the cultivators in the ancient city were unnecessary. The thousands of lightning bolts smashed into the ancient city and were immediately absorbed by the 9 heavens 10 earth's god-slaying demon exterminating seal. More than half of the lightning bolts were absorbed by the lightning gathering tower, which constantly condensed all kinds of divine lightning. Billions of lightning bolts flashed on the ancient city and rushed into the ancient city. The divine crystal that built the ancient city was like the most thirsty ferocious beast in the world. It did not reject the lightning bolt. Like a bottomless pit, it swallowed wantonly. The entire ancient city was shining with a crystal-like divine light. The ancient city was absorbing the power of lightning to temper the city and improve the quality of the divine crystal. It allowed the divine crystal to completely merge into one. It also allowed the vitality in the ancient city to continuously approach the peak of the post-liminary realm. Seeing this, most of the experts understood that the ancient city was actually borrowing the power of the thousands of lightning bolts to increase the power of the ancient city. They could not help but exclaim inwardly. It was really amazing to talk about it. After seeing the ancient city descend, Di Shirtian contacted Qin Shi with his divine will and sent some of the precious spirit essences he had obtained previously into the 100 herb garden. Under the guidance of Dark, they quickly passed through the lightning territory. As they passed through the lightning territory, they saw many lightning beasts. They were all primordial ferocious beasts that lived in the lightning territory. They would avoid them if possible. If they could not avoid them, they would directly kill them. Without a powerful ferocious beast like the primordial lightning dragon, they could not stop their advance at all. Rumble! As soon as they came out of the lightning territory, before they could see the scene in front of them clearly, they heard a series of loud roars. The ground under their feet was shaking. It was as if someone had detonated billions of tons of explosives in front of them. What's going on? Baihu frowned slightly and quickly raised her guard. She thought to herself, could it be that someone is fighting with a ferocious beast? There were people in front of them. There were probably as many experts in the land of chaos as there were grains of sand in the universe. It was not strange to encounter them here. However, whether they could get along peacefully was a problem. Previously, they had encountered a robbery as soon as they came in. In this place, encountering other experts was not a good thing to be happy about. Sakura and the others quickly fixed their eyes and looked forward. Hey, brother-in-law, look, those three guys are really interesting. One is covered in iron, one is holding a kitchen knife, and one is carrying a brick. Hee, this is really fun. Zhu glanced at it and giggled. Zhu giggled. She blinked her eyes, full of amusement. There's an ancient tomb in front. They are digging it. The white fox was extremely intelligent. With just a glance, it could see what was happening in front of it. It's those three clowns? Tian couldn't help but have a strange look on his face. In front of them, there was a secluded valley. In the valley, there were traces of dense fog, but it couldn't obstruct Sakura's 1,000 miles vision, which could see through the entire valley in one glance. In the valley, one was covered in steel, one was holding 2 kitchen knives, and one was holding a brick. They were precisely those 3 living treasures. Speaking of which, he had a deep impression of these 3 clowns. Back then, he had seen them for the first time in the southern barbarian lands. Later, he saw them again in the heavenly demon mystery land. They were also in the demon city. Now, he had run into them again. It seemed to be a special fate. He listened attentively. Boss, quickly, break open this broken door. The psychic jade that Miss gave us just now lit up. There must be treasures in this tomb. After we dig it up, we will be rich. We can exchange it for wine in the 1,000 demon city. I've almost finished the wine I brought. Second brother, put away your kitchen knife and split this big stone. See if there are treasures inside. What kind of broken ancient tomb is this? I'll smash it with a brick. The 3 boorish men muttered in a low, muffled voice inside. Their boss, who was covered in armor, directly crashed into a tomb door made of stone that weighed more than 10,000 pounds. Good heavens, the earth shook and the mountains shook. A human-shaped hole was made in the door. The 2 dark and swarthy kitchen knives were terrifyingly sharp. They cut the diamond like tofu. Although their treasures were not eye-catching, they were not simple. Psychic jade? Is it one of the 3 psychic treasures that can sense all kinds of treasures like the psychic compass? From their unintentional words, Tian instantly caught a hint of information. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 652. In the world, there were 3 types of treasures that could sense the traces of various precious treasures in the world. They had a unique ability to search for treasures. In the cultivation world, they were called the Psychic 3 treasures. They were the Psychic Compass, the Psychic Jade, and the treasure-seeking Psychic Mouse. The Psychic Jade was a type of jade that absorbed the aura emitted by countless precious treasures in the world. After countless years of precipitation, it had obtained supreme fortune and was nurtured. Since it was nurtured by the aura of countless precious treasures, it was born with the miraculous power to sense all kinds of precious treasures and the essence of the world. It was said that the jade was divided into ranks: heaven, earth, black, and yellow. Among them, the yellow rank psychic jade could only sense the precious treasures within a radius of 100 zhang. The black rank psychic jade could sense the precious treasures within a radius of 1,000 zhang. The earth rank psychic jade could sense the precious treasures within a radius of 10,000 zhang. As for the most miraculous heaven rank psychic jade, not only could it sense the precious treasures within a radius of 10,000 zhang, it could also clearly reflect the location of the precious treasures into the mind of the wearer. It could also display different kinds of treasure lights according to the rank and preciousness of the precious treasures. They were all rare and precious treasures. However, the 3rd type, the treasure-seeking psychic mouse, was a living creature. It was a mutated species of the mouse clan and was born with the instinct to search for treasures. It was rather miraculous, therefore they were called the Psychic Three Treasures. When ordinary people obtained one, it would be unparalleled luck. And now, from what he heard, the three Chin brothers in front of him clearly had a spirit-connecting jade on them. They actually managed to find this valley. Very obviously, there must be some precious treasure in this valley that triggered the reaction of the spirit-connecting jade. Besides, this valley seemed to be an ancient tomb built by a supreme expert who had fallen here in the past. It was used as a resting place. It was also a place where many cultivators sought treasures like a flock of bees. The three brothers of the Chin clan, the eldest Chin Chi, the second Chin Sheng, and the third Chin Xian. Their cultivation had broken through to the immortal monarch realm? Di Shirtian glanced at the three funny brothers, and a trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. He mumbled to himself, with their cultivation in the past, they were able to achieve their current cultivation in such a short period of time. It seems that the three of them are also people with great luck. They must have encountered some incredible fortuitous encounters. In this world, I am not the only one with great luck. The world was filled with countless mysteries. Every day, people would encounter all kinds of fortuitous encounters and opportunities. When the calamity arrived and the great era arrived, all sorts of young geniuses with extraordinary natural talent and great karmic luck really appeared one after another like carps crossing the river. There were as many fortuitous encounters as there were stars in the sky. Di Shirtian knew that when one's cultivation base reached a certain level, they would have many plans for the future. For example, when the great era arrived, they would pass down their techniques to the next generation, and then compete with the elites of heaven and earth for supremacy. This was often the case, resulting in an endless stream of peerless geniuses in great eras. This was not only a competition of talent, but also the entanglement of the previous generation's grievances. Boom, boom, boom. Boss, let's hit it a few more times. Bah, 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 what kind of tomb is this? It even has 2 doors. How unlucky. Once we open it, we'll definitely move everything inside. Quick, this broken door is about to be smashed open. Boss is mighty. Let's smash this broken door. Just as they were thinking, the scene in the valley suddenly changed. Boss Chin Chi was wearing a strange pitch-black armor that covered his entire body, making him look like a lump of iron. Moreover, he had boundless strength and was born with divine strength. Like a raging bull, he directly smashed into the heavy tomb door. The impact caused the entire valley to shake violently. On the hard tomb door, all kinds of restrictions flickered with divine light, but they were constantly destroyed by the collision. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. On the incomparably huge tomb door, small cracks appeared strangely. In an instant they spread in all directions. The sound of glass shattering was almost continuous. In a few breaths, the tomb door was already covered with countless cracks. Bang! Seeing the cracks on the door, Chin Chi became even more excited. He directly rushed forward with a roar and smashed the second tomb door. Haha, the door is open. Second brother, third brother, quickly follow. The psychic jade is shining again. The treasure is inside. We're going to find the treasure. We're going to be rich. Big brother Chin Chi shouted excitedly as he took the lead and charged in without thinking. The 2 boorish men did not think of anything else and rushed into the ancient tomb as well. Bang! 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 They strode in with large strides. Outside, the heavy footsteps could be heard. Hee, those 3 guys are really interesting. Brother-in-law, let's also go in and take a look. I heard that there are many treasures in the ancient tomb. Zhu blinked her eyes and giggled as she grabbed Di Shirtian's arm and shook it vigorously. Obviously, she was very curious about the ancient tomb. Every ancient tomb is a treasure trove. It's the burial place of an almighty expert. Why don't we go in and take a look? Bai Hu also blinked her eyes and a trace of craftiness flashed through the corners of her eyes. Su Tianxiang was born to like to seek all kinds of treasures. She searched for secret. The more unknown something was, the more she liked to understand it. Otherwise, she would not have directly broken into the god-perishing abyss and stolen the imperial heavenly treasure box from the money tree. She was even heavily injured. It could be seen that her curiosity was absolutely not a small matter. All this time, she had been busy raising her cultivation. Now that she was with Di Shirtian, she could not help but reveal her true nature. Roar! Di Yu also let out a loud cry, full of joy. That's good. There are countless ancient tombs in the land of chaos. It would have been fine if we did not find them, but since we have found them, let's go in and take a look. Who knows, we might even find some opportunities. Di Shirtian saw that everyone was very curious and could not help but smile faintly. He nodded in agreement and leaped onto the ground. Yu-Er's body also glowed with divine light and quickly shrunk to the size of a palm. She spread her wings and landed on Di Shirtian's shoulder, happily sticking out her head and rubbing against his neck affectionately. Let's go! Di Shirtian turned his head to look at Tianxiang, who was dressed in a snow-white palace dress. Her ribbons fluttered in the wind as if she was a peerless goddess who was about to leave with the wind. A hint of naturalness appeared in his eyes as he lifted his foot and walked towards the valley. Yay! Zhu was also very excited. She turned into a fiery red bird the size of a palm and landed on Di Shirtian's other shoulder. She jumped around excitedly. They walked side by side. Di Shirtian was not a very handsome person, but he had a proud character. His face was chiseled, and he exuded the natural majesty of an emperor. He had a temperament that nothing in the world could hide when he stepped on the ground. Bai Hu, on the other hand, was devastatingly beautiful, which was rare in the world. Walking together, they were like a pair of celestial lovers. They were the envy of others. Patter! His footsteps were steady as he walked into the valley. Without much hesitation, he walked directly to the ancient tomb. This ancient tomb was built in the belly of a mountain. On the ground, pieces of the tomb door were scattered all over the place. Looking forward, what appeared in front of them was a flat path. The passageway of the ancient tomb was not as dark as one would imagine. Above the passageway were luminous pearls the size of a fist, emitting a glow that lit up the entire passageway as if it was daytime. They could see clearly. There was not a speck of dust on the surrounding walls. The light could illuminate people. It did not look like an ancient tomb. Instead, it looked more like a palace. Wow! So beautiful, so many pearls. Hee, brother-in-law, let's dig up these pearls later and put them in the jade pool. They must be very beautiful. Zhu blinked her eyes and looked at those sparkling pearls. She could not even take her eyes off them. She flapped her wings, dug up those luminous pearls one by one, and put them into her storage ring. Di Shirtian did not stop her. He just smiled and shook his head. They continued walking forward. Whose ancient tomb is this? There are no restrictions, no mechanisms, and no traps here. As they walked, they secretly guessed in their minds. If it was really an ancient tomb, it would be filled with mazes, traps, and forbidding auras. If they were not careful, they would be buried inside. But here, the strangest thing was that there were no restrictions. There were no traps, and the ground was as flat as marble. Lunatic D, I'm afraid there's really something strange here. In my opinion, this doesn't look like a tomb. Quick, those 3 clowns are in front. They have spirit jade in their hands. Let's follow them and find out what's going on, Ming said in surprise. They walked forward quickly. When they were about to walk out of the passage and reach the main hall in front, the 3 clowns' roars sounded in their ears again. Big brother, there's nothing here. There's only this coffin. The jade keeps shining. Do you think the treasure is this coffin? Second brother is right. Let me see what's in this coffin. Big brother, second brother, come and see. There's a person lying in this coffin. It's a woman. The two of you move aside. Let me see if this woman is alive or dead. Why can't I see what she looks like? Forget it, second brother, third brother. Come over and open the coffin lid. Rumble. Bang. All of a sudden, the entire tomb shook as if some ancient beast was about to awaken. In the midst of a few terrifying rumbling sounds, the three Chin brothers let out a wave of miserable cries. It was as if they had been hit by something. Sakra quickly stepped forward and walked out of the passage. He witnessed with his own eyes those three burly men were like rubber balls, flying heavily from mid-air and smashing onto the ground. Countless cracks appeared on the ground like a spider web. A crystal ice coffin? His eyes swept past them and instantly landed on the crystal ice coffin in the center of the hall. Countless mysterious runes were flickering with strange divine light on the crystal ice coffin. Like tadpoles, they were constantly twisting and flowing. It was as if the entire ice coffin had come to life. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.